Hello, folks, and welcome to the RaceRoom Grand Prix of Silverstone. It's been a while since we've seen each other, hasn't it, when we were all the way many months ago back in China. But today we've got 3 races coming up for you. It's the FR3 and the FRX17 cars coming up for you with 2 mini races followed by a Grand Prix. It's like a Grand Prix weekend condensed into one evening. It's going to be wonderful, and we hope we all have a wonderful time with us. Us being, of course, James Kirk, joined by Thomas Wienert. And Thomas, it is wonderful to finally get the opportunity to commentate with you finally. We've known each other for so long, and what an event to get started as well. Your first English broadcast, I understand, too.
Don't say that out loud. Yeah, but basically it is. So give us some feedback if the audio isn't working as well as we hope. But yeah, the tests were pretty fine. So I'm pretty excited about it because Silverstone is basically one of my favorite tracks, especially the combination. I love it so much, James. What about you?
Well, it's one of those classics, isn't it? Of course, the sort of the home of Formula One, as they call it, and we had quite an interesting end to the Grand Prix indeed last weekend. It's always a place which you know that you can overtake, you know you can expect some wonderful racing. And just going back quick to that point, I think that you've already done better than me on a German broadcast. So to be honest, I think we'll keep it up there. So what's the format for today then? Well, let's go through it in a bit more detail. So what we're seeing right now is free practice. You can see the FR3 Formula 3 cars. See, it's clever, right? We've got 10 minutes of qualifying coming up for you first, followed by 2 races. Now, if you're familiar with the RaceRoom EWTCR partnership, it's kind of similar to that in that we have one 20-minute race, followed by a second 20-minute race, but with the top 10, determined, of course, by the finishing results of race number 1. That top 10 is reversed for race number 2, and so always exciting reverse grids. They're one of my favorite style of races. And then we're going to take a bit of an elongated break before we then come back for the real meat in this sandwich, the FRX 17 show. We have about 30 minutes of free practice. We have about 10 minutes of qualifying, and then it's a 70-minute race with all sorts of modifications on. We know how good the race in Shanghai was. You can expect more of the same here, of course, with Silverstone, and as Thomas rightly says, one of the best circuits, I think, on the planet as it stands. But let's focus in a little bit more on the sort of the appetizer to our main meal, the FR3. Lovely little cars, these, and we're going to see some names that we recognize as well in and amongst various RaceRoom events.
Yeah, we can start with Karel Vega, I think. Ah, yeah, we are on it. Perfect. Karel Vega is from the team Fortzillas. We know him pretty much, and he's probably the oldest driver. Who did we recognize as well, James? I think we recognized Andrea Crespi, we recognized Alessandro Botti. All the drivers, yeah. We always racing. I don't know. Do you know something about their open wheeler skills? Because in general, a GT and an open wheeler is not the same to drive.
No, it's not. And certainly, I mean, for me, my sim racing career, it was short. It was sometimes, not often that much. But if there was one thing I would say for certain is that I was a touring car person through and through. I did okay in lower Formula League cars, but as soon as you get up to the faster things, especially on a DualShock 3 controller at the time, it's not a great combination. That said, these guys on a wheel, I don't think it makes that much of a difference, though. Sometimes you just prefer a certain type of car to another, and therefore we look at these guys and they might be driving GTs. Certainly in the case of Gianmarco Fiducci, who we know he's been actually a regular at the top tier of EWTCR last season at the very least. You can be a top 10 runner in that series, but if you don't have the setup knowledge for even these lower Formula cars, then you're going to be struggling a lot because these are a lot more setup dependent. One wrong wing modification and you're going to be suffering understeer, and especially in a track like Silverstone, understeer is the last thing you want, of course.
Well, I don't know. I really like to drive the open wheelers via the front wheels, so just understeer. Better than oversteer, but yeah, especially in Silverstone, you need to get the cornering speed. You need to take all the momentum through all the fast turns. Like, I mean, the best example is Maggots, Becketts and Chappelle, right? Where you really have to put all the confidence you have in the car into this momentum of these three turns. And yeah, it's basically, if you have the wrong setup at that point, you will lose lots of speed and obviously lots of confidence, which you need in every lap again.
Let's stay on board with Andrea Crespi, shall we? Let's take a little look at Silverstone. If you don't know it already, well, let us take you on this lap. It all starts on the home straight after coming out of the club. Thank you, Andrea. Wonderful timing, wasn't it? Wonderful timing. Could not have been any worse. I was gearing up for that. It was going to be brilliant. Let's look at Bo Dixon, and actually currently our current pace setter, at least. He's been through Abbey, he's been through Farm, he's been through Village, and he's just come out of the loop onto the Wellington Straight. Really one of the first major opportunities you have of overtaking after that entrance into Village. We're then breaking down into Brooklands, this legendary, it used to be, of course, the penultimate and final corners of Silverstone Circuit when we were back at the pit lane and pit paddock here, of course. Out of Woodcote and up through the gears as we head towards the absolutely terrifying Copse. If you want to take as much speed through here, you've got to have cojones of steel if you want to try and overtake. It's a little more pedestrian in these cars, and so certainly Bo Dixon didn't look any trouble there. And into obviously Maggots and Becketts and Chapel. It's one of the most majestic bunch of corners I think you can find anywhere in the world. You got to be committed, and especially on that exit, so crucial since you have this second main straight, the hangar straight. It'll be DRS wide open for the Formula One cars. No DRS here, of course, as we brake heavily into Stowe, another corner, where you need to be committed to get that perfect exit on the outside. Take a little bit of curve before we head into the final couple of corners, down the Vale and into the final chicane here. Very nice, clipping those curves beautifully. Just enough power on exit to shuttle over that final one through Club. And that's a lovely little lap there from Bo Dixon. Thank you very much for not escaping out back to the garage. Much appreciated, Bo. And as I say, he's currently the pace setter on the 149.611. That doesn't really have too much context until you see who's further behind. Matt Webb, fellow Brit, on a 150.1. The pace from Bo Dixon, he's got some wiggle room, Thomas, to say the least.
A little bit, but yeah, let's see what the qualifying brings. Practice is always a little bit, I say, different from the lap times. Mostly some drivers are not going for the full pace, so maybe Matt can find some seconds, some tenths, and then can attack while we are in the qualifying.
So less than 2.5 minutes left, I should say. Hard to read really any predictions on this, for now. We were just talking before the show. This is one of these events where you've got a lot of these drivers who you might see some people that you recognize, like Vega, like Fiducci, like Webb, like Dixon, but for a lot of these guys, it's their first chance to really be in the spotlight. I think that's one of the great things about these RaceRoom GPs is you're not necessarily going to get your big star-studded talent that you'll see in the likes of the EWTCR necessarily, in the DTM, of course. You know, these guys are coming through, they're finding their craft, or they've already found their craft, and this is a level which they've really settled at, and they'll be hoping for some star-studded success themselves on these days. Of course, 3 races to find whatever you're hoping to find, and I think for the likes of Dixon, for the likes of Webb, there's nothing better, of course, than potentially winning or grabbing a podium, or even just a pole position at your home track.
Yeah, but I'm a little bit cheering for Bo Dixon, who entered RaceRoom, I would say, a year ago, and yeah, couldn't manage to qualify for the ADAC Masters or the WTCR. He's always a little bit off the pace, but now it seems like he's the pace setter. So yeah, I'm really happy. As you said, everyone needs to find his own comfortable place in the simulation, and probably the open wheeler section it is. I don't know. But what I really like about this is we have so many drivers driving now the open wheelers. So yeah, that's obviously we overcome this little gap to all the GT cars, which we had years and years and years.
Well, I think it's what has certainly helped the tin tops, as we like to call them here in the UK, is, you know, they have these massive championships behind them. I always wax lyrical about how wonderful a company RaceRoom is, and it's it's true. The company was so kind enough to give me my big breakthrough, so to speak, way back in the day of the Esports World Touring Car Championship, of course, before it became the WTCR Championship in real life. And ultimately, all I've really known from RaceRoom has been these big tin top champ, whether it be GT Masters, WTCR, DTM, back in the day the Mercedes Esports Challenge as well. And I'm so happy to see some open wheeler stuff now, and I think it's a massive shout out to the team behind these two particular cars, because they're just so enjoyable to drive. And naturally, when you have a car that's enjoyable to drive, Thomas, more people are going to want to drive it, and particularly in events like this.
Yeah, I can just say yes to what you said, because the FR3 is just an awesome car. I really, really, really do love it. It's probably one of my favorite cars we have in the game, because, it has such a small area where you can drive it really on the limit, but when you find it, it's just awesome. It gives you goosebumps. You really have to be very rude to the car. You need to push, and obviously you really learn to drive on this cars.
Well, I think it's Sebastian Vettel, isn't it, who likes to name each of his cars. Often I think you'll see drivers treat them like females, right? They're ladies, and every lady out in the world is going to want to be treated differently. Some want to be treated like a princess, some want to be a little bit more independent, and much like men, some just don't know what to do with them at all. But ultimately, it's about finding that fine balance, about finding the sweet spot of these cars as we head into 10 minutes of qualifying. And it is your standard RaceRoom affair. Once the timer hits 0, that is the end of qualifying. You have to time your laps to the timer, then no final lap if you are still out on track. Hit 0, that's your lock. Of course, drivers more than welcome to escape back to the pits. They don't have to drive back under their own fuel. They are more than welcome to just say, okay, I've made a mistake here at turn 4, whatever. Let's try that again. Of course, for 10 minutes, it's very limited. Of course, laps around 1 minute 50 around here, so quite a long lap for these FR3 cars, Thomas. And so really, it is a case where if you do make a mistake, that could be crucial in where you end up at the end of the session.
I think Bo Dixon did a really good job. In general, people tend to be the first on the track because you have a free track and you can choose your own line. But I think these slow cars really get big advantages of slipstream. So yeah, on the long straight with fast corners, you really want to have this last boost to get the last tenths you maybe need for the pole position.
Would you like to take us through Bo Dixon's first qualifying lap?
Let's see how good he can manage it. Obviously he will not quit now. Hopefully the last past turns look very good. I think he can go flat out here. At least you can do it later with a faster car. So give everything what you can find. Brake very late. Try to find a very early exit to turn around the car. Don't get too much track here. Try to find the early exit, get the car in a straight way. You can accelerate as fast as possible to get the most speed out of here. This will be pretty much a crucial part on the track, I think, because in the end on the race you lose or gain places here. Take as much track as you can, a little bit rotation over the curb, inside, stay at the right side so you don't get too much track on it and you lose too much momentum. Try to be as hard as possible on the acceleration when you get out of Newfield, and then get back to one of the longest straights here. Possibly the FR3 will go here for flat out. You can see it. Bo Dixon tries to attack the corner as hard as he can. Probably he had to lift a little bit because the turning point was not that best. Now attacking both curbs, stay a little bit on the inside so you get the perfect entry point for Chappelle. That was basically not the perfect entry point, so Bo Dixon has a little bit of potential already on this point. Going for as much speed as you can find for the probably most intense turn here. Copse corner. late apex, late braking point, fast acceleration into the last chicane. Brake as hard as you can, brake as late as you can. A little bit cutting here, a little bit cutting there. Try to get as most friction or traction as you can find, and then you have made the one lap you maybe need. And Bo Dixon already pinched a hole in the field, I would say. 1:49.8.
That was a tenth faster than his best practice time, and I agree with you entirely, Thomas. That didn't look perfect.
No.
He was just edging out at Copse. Around Luffield, he was a little bit sideways as well. He can go faster, 100%, and that is going to be a huge worry to the rest of the field. Behind as the early times flow in, it's Matt Webb on a 1:49.992, so only a tenth behind his compatriot. But then we have to go back 5 tenths to the Italian Gianmarco Fiducci. So the two Brits are trailblazing at the moment. Good bank collapse, you'd certainly say, for both of those two as they vie for pole position. Is there anyone else who can enter this picture? We will wait and see. But there's already just about 5 minutes left, already halfway through this qualifying session. We said time elapses very quickly with these cars and how long the lap takes for them. Well, now you can see it on your screens. Under 5 minutes left. At best, 1 or 2 laps left on the table.
Christian Jährche on a good lap, but to some kind he lost it obviously. Second sector is delayed or denied, I don't know. It seems a little bit like he's denied, so he has to try to find another good pace. Was on a very fast lap, has only 2/10 on the leader, so yeah, sad for him. Let's look what Kevin Schlacher from Austria can do.
Yeah, of course we do have our stewards that will look at any incidents after the race, but we also have our wonderful steward known as the AI that is very, very efficient at making sure that anybody who cuts the track and gains an advantage unduly will duly have their sector time and total time taken away. You get too many of those and you'll find yourself with flags being flown at you. And no, not the checkered flag, although your race might be coming to an early finish if you do abuse the limits a little too much. Timo Klinger there in P7 on a 1:51.3, and really that is just showing how impressive those Brits are at the top of the field. Those guys in the 1:49s. There is only one person in the 1:50s, that being Fiducci. Everyone else is in the 1:51s or further afield. Attila Kolar looking to change that, currently in P9. The Hungarian is going to cross the line now, and that is not going to be improvement. Stays, oh no, it is, sorry, going to be an improvement to a 1:52.498. A little bit slow there, my timing, but up to P17, still more entering the 1:51. So we were talking about people already pushing themselves into stardom. Well, Bo Dixon and Matt Webb showing just how good they are in comparison to the rest of the field. Home field advantage, some might say, but if you got it, then you got it.
Home field advantage, I don't know. It's probably only a digital advantage, right? Everyone is sitting in its own home and sitting on its own rig. So the question is, who has set it up the best and knows how to handle his wheel or his pedals the best. And then there's the second part. Oh, you saw that Andrea Crespi was not really going for the perfect line on Chappelle. He obviously, I don't know, maybe he didn't had enough research about it, or he probably didn't try it for that lap. I don't know.
Look how much the steering wheel was shaking down the hangar straight as well. That car is riding very low to the ground, which, I mean, ultimately the whole point of setup is to get it as low to the ground as possible without actually scraping along. You can get away with it in some places here and there. Certainly in the Formula One cars, you'll see sparks flying off the barge boards. That is because of how low they are running, but there does come a point where, especially with these sorts of cars, the suspension isn't Formula One grade, and you are going to be braking along the floor and actually harming your lap time. Certainly not harming his lap time, though, is Bo Dixon. That is a purple second sector, and for those uninitiated, if you see a green sector flash up on your screen, that's a personal best. The purple sector is a best out of anyone. He really slings it into the Vale chicane there, and as he goes through club, that does look like he's nailed that wonderfully well. Across the line, Bo Dixon goes. And what is this time going to be? Oh, a 1:49.
All right.
1:72. That is a phenomenal final sector. It looked it from the swingman camera. And that is a tall order for even the likes of Matt Webb to beat now.
I don't know. Matt Webb is not on a fast lap, and yeah, now I think Matt has more to do with his own moral, because you're not allowed to get shattered at that point. The next two races will income, but I think maybe Matt's really success will come in the second race when he starts in front of Bo Dixon. I think 4/10 per lap is a statement.
You know, my dad has been a huge advocate, actually, of reverse grid races from qualifying results in Formula One. He loves the ideas of the fastest cars in the field being forced to actually put their money where their mouth is and overtake. And actually, to be fair, going back to that whole Seb Vettel area, there was often a case set against him that, the only reason why he's good is because he's in the fastest car, because he's out front, he can't overtake. Well, reverse grids are what prove if you can overtake or not. And Bo Dixon, to be fair, he's got so much of a pace advantage that if we do find him back in the midfield, which I think at this point, certainly, as long as he doesn't screw up the first lap, I think we can expect to find him in the midfield for race number 2. I think we're going to be seeing a few overtakes at the very least. But there we go, qualifying over it. It is going to be Bo Dixon on pole position for race number 1. Matt Webb alongside him, an all-British front row at Silverstone. Gianmarco Fiducci and... sorry, I just missed that name there, but Fiducci going to be starting there in P3. Of course, Fiducci probably the most experienced in terms of top-tier experience, Thomas, but
I'm not quite sure. I mean, Bo Dixon, I think he is very, very experienced in project cars. So he's from VP Gaming, and so, you know, maybe you have the lesser experience in a race room field, but that doesn't mean that you're unexperienced, right?
That is very, very true. And I realize that the whole, it's part of the sim racing scene, isn't it? Which game is best? There is an adjustment period, but we have seen many a driver successfully transition into race room at one point or another, and indeed out of race room as well. These drivers have to be multifaceted, and the multifaceted nature comes into play right now when the pedal is to the metal. 20 minutes on the clock for race number 1. Bo Dixon on the right-hand side of your screen. We're racing at the RaceRoom GP event, and that is a lovely start from Bo Dixon. Immediately goes to the inside to cover his line, and will lead going for turn number 1. It's Fiducci with a great start alongside him, and Fiducci taking the lead around the outside and into the village. Fiducci with a brilliant start here. It was an awful start for Matt Webb, who's right back down in P9, P8 as it stands. But the Italian, we can argue an experience like that. It's not for him, but the Wellington straight. It's going to be more Bo Dixon in terms of slipping in the action. Going to pull out alongside him onto the right hand side. He's going to try and sweep around the outside into Brooklands, and this is looking very nice indeed. He's got a little bit of a lip in there as we head through Luffield now, and Gianmarco has the hill there and takes him back into the lead. Contact as well as we head up towards Copse.
Oh man, and I never expected Fiducci to go that fast. He was just a 151 driver, and in the end now he's pressuring so much on Bo Dixon, so probably his setup was not meant to be fast in the qualifying, but now he can be reliable in the whole race. And yeah, I'm curious how this will turn out. Now in that combination he's losing, and he's losing much, 0.6 seconds, and now you can see it with the bare eye. Fiducci has to let go, and we jump a little bit back to Matt Webb, who had probably the worst start ever.
Yeah, not great, was he? Really bogged down off the line, and he was as far down as P10. He has manoeuvred his way back up to P7, but it is very much a recovery drive from here on out. I'm sure he had ideas of pressuring Bo Dixon at the start, but instead it was Gianmarco Fiducci who stole his thunder. End of that one net, and it is Bo Dixon who leads. Fiducci, Karadovic, Dilbrovic had a great start there, the Serbian, Vega, Shaka, Webb, Migales, and Heinrich and Crespi rounding out the top 10, as Matt Webb immediately now onto the back of the Austrian, although sorry, this is Crespi we're looking at on the German, Raphael Heinrich, and Crespi there looking to go down the inside. He also has to be wary though, defending off the Finn Timo Pinga in that very poignant yellow and black. As very tightly contested midfield. You can already see the front seven really starting to pull away.
Crespi did well from the past few turns. He got a huge and nice exit, could gain a lot of momentum, and now can try to bring a transition out of Newfield. Someone is going right behind him. But yeah, Crespi is one of the drivers who brought some fans with it, I think. At least I see already also someone writing, "Bring the Italians." And now, he has some. There is a little gap of 0.4 to Raphael Heinrich, and he's not really able to close it now.
Certainly not through there. You'll see on the right side of your screen a number of track limit abuse penalties coming through. They have been busy boys. Certainly the AI, the imaginary AI. It's not. Oh, that's someone off. Sorry, that's someone off right there at the back. I think is that it is Matt Webb. Oh, would you believe it? I think it is Matt Webb who's falling down the order. We only caught the end of it, but Matt Webb, it still goes from bad to worse as he's all the way back in P25. We can only guesstimate at what happened there, but on the exit of Chapel, I'd imagine that he might be fighting a little bit too close to the rear end of the American fighting with.
I mean, if you had such a bad start, oh look at that, that is wheel-to-wheel racing. Botti is trying to attack Kurz, now he needs to back up. Yeah, but if you had such a bad start and you lose several places, I don't know, 7, 8 places, then you have to go back, find your rhythm, and yeah, if you then lose yourself in some bad thoughts and you don't realize that you're now running in a dirty air, yeah, it can get pretty easy that you can go off the track.
I always maintain it doesn't matter so much about the form that you have, it's about the mental game and how quickly you can bounce back from bad situations. I think we're really seeing a real life example in Alexander Albon in Formula One, where that pressure of the situation really does start to affect you, and it can. We have a saying here in Britain, mostly because it's true. When it rains, it really does pour. And, it's about whether you've brought an umbrella out with you as to whether you'll get very wet indeed, or whether you'll be able to get home with a little bit of dignity still intact. I mean, certainly someone with a lot of dignity right now is Gianmarco Fiducci, who is keeping Bud Dixon very honest. He's briefly the race leader, the Italian, and he'll be mighty happy, I think, given the pace deficit in qualifying, just how close he is to Dixon as things stand. Still 15 minutes left, and this really where we can start to talk about the primary factor of this race, the main variable, which is how well you can keep your tyres in check, Thomas, because of course we're not expecting any pit stops here. It is going to be a sprint race to the finish, and if Bo Dixon has gone for a bit more of a qualifying style setup, then Fiducci is surely going to be feeling pretty nice for the last 10 minutes as Dixon, in theory at least, starts to wear down his tyres a little bit too much.
Yeah, that's what that was exactly what I think is happening here. So I think Bo Dixon went for a setup with low wings, so he could run very, very fast laps, and now need to manage his tires, his momentum all the time. So yeah, probably he's struggling a little bit more than in qualifying, because he always needs to think, is this too fast? How fast do I need to go? Is Fiducci pushing, or can I pull away? I don't know. And now it seems a little bit like Fiducci has a more clean line.
And for those wondering about Matt Webb, and it looked like a heavy impact, at least off to the side on the exit of Chapel, you might be wondering, well, what's happening here? It seems like Crespi's also the host position as well. Well, full damage is on for all 3 of these races, and so if you hit the wall at velocity, you're going to have problems as well. We talk about problems. Gianmarco Fiducci there with a slow down penalty for track limits abuse. Now, that is the last thing that he would have wanted to see, but the slow down penalty, how that works into RaceRoom is he's been given by the AI a number of seconds that he has to slow down, almost as if he is under yellow flags. And he will have to serve that at some point during the race, otherwise it'll be added to his race time naturally. As you can see here, Oliver Burns, I think not all is well with Crespi's car, Thomas, because Oliver Burns had to do some pretty quick evasive action there to not run into the back of it.
I'm not sure if it's really about the car of Crespi, or if it was Oliver Burns who just managed to get really, really really fast through Chappelle and then realized, oh shit, I have not the full grip I certainly want to have, and then yeah, he had to avoid Crespi. So I don't know, maybe Crespi is a little bit struggling with his mental form. You saw some lockups right now. I don't know.
We apologize for the profanities, of course. But I think that the mood was very much conveyed. I think we were all thinking it, certainly. Whenever you have a car a little bit slower ahead of you, it's very worrying indeed, and you've really got to be extra aware of what's going on. That's certainly for Matt Webb, we believe, carrying damage, but he's done valiantly to fight his way back up to P18. He'll be thankful that he has such a pace advantage over a lot of the field as well. As that's a lovely undercut there, wasn't it? Just into the loop, out of village, and that is going to be P17 for Matt Webb, at least provisionally, of course. We now enter that similar situation to Fiducci and Dixon on lap number 1, where all of the Wellington Straight is available to slipstream for Heath, but there is no doing there. Matt Webb does hold on to P17 as he tries to work his way back up the order. A reminder that race 2, it's a reverse grid of the top 10 in the order when it comes to the end of this race. Right now, that P10 being occupied by Koerberger, so a long way to go yet for Matt Webb, with just over 11 minutes left on the clock.
And Matt Webb has to take lots of places from drivers who certainly don't want to give up their position. But it seems like Matt got the next one. He got the Frenchman Bouillon, but yeah, it seems like Corentin, who is just missing the track and now lost 3 positions. So actually Matt gets some gifts made. I don't know, but something I want to show is here. Fiducci already has a gap of 3.7 seconds, so obviously Fiducci really took advantage of the slipstream that Bo Dixon gave him.
And I apologize if I didn't catch you saying the Koerberger retirement, but yes, the Austrian is out of the race, hence why Matt Webb has gained not 1 but 2 positions on that last lap. Heinrich and Kieran Cheng also out of this race, 3 down. A number still racing, and of course for Fiducci, we know that gap was going to open because of the slowdown penalty, and he's going to be slightly worried now because Dusan Miloradovic, who's there in P3, he's less than a second away. Of course, no DRS with these cars, but the slipstreaming effect is still powerful. We might see it in action here between the 2 orange and black cars of Patrick Kurz in P9 and Alessandro Botti, the Italian, in P10, now occupying that crucial P10 position. That is pole position for race number 2, a place that most would only dream of being. Nothing doing into this section of the track, however, and it'll be more looking up towards Chapel and then Stowe, where the next major opportunity will come through. Some are let's say brave. Let's say positive as well. Brave to go through Copse, but to be fair, Botti has lost a little bit of time through there on exit, and so we'll have to fall in behind as they head through Maggots and Becketts.
Yeah, Botti would not be pretty happy about the pole position. I think he is running a 1:53, so he's kind of slow compared to the rest of the field. He's a little bit, yeah, you can say he's slower than the whole field behind him, but actually he's the most consistent driver, otherwise he wouldn't be on P10.
And what these guys will be most happy about is that gap back to Attila Kolar at P11. There's some 4 seconds between them, so they can afford a little bit of fisticuffs as they battle away for P9 and P10. Of course, oh, wow, that was a little bit of lag. I thought he had hit the grass and was going to go careering off into the gravel trap. Thankfully not for Botti, who does remain at P10. But of course, there is no points structure here. This is all very much a race for your own pride and a race to show, hey, I'm the best out of the field, that we see here today behind Oliver Burton getting past Attila Kolar. And actually, to be fair, I did see them swaying one way dramatically. I think they might have locked wheels and gone into the wall. And you can see there Matt Webb going up into P12. Alessandro Botti, though, wanting to get a little bit better acquainted with the rear wing of Patrick Kurz. They're a little slow out of Lucan Village for his own liking, and this looking a lot closer now as we head down towards Luffield and Brooklyn. And once again, Botti is just a little bit too far behind. I can only imagine that Kurz is running much lower wing setup, but here we can see what the higher wing setup could do. Botti going in all the track, and that's a little bit too much because up on exit. That's a real shame there. And is he going to lose P10 now to Crespi, who's seen that 4-second gap just completely evaporate? No, he gets away with it.
Oh man, that is really unfortunate. Botti just should have stayed calm and wait for the next mistake of Curse, because Curse missed nearly every apex, and with Fiducci is getting the next slowdown penalty, and now we get a fight around the podium. So Milo Radovic is now getting into the position to fight actually around position 2. It seems like Fiducci gave away his slowdown penalty, so he's ready to fight again. But yeah, back to Patrick Curse, who actually defended way too early on Village, and that was the moment when Botti just could close the gap, and yeah, everything starts. So I don't know, maybe Curse was too impatient, and then Botti took his patience and did nearly the same.
Curse, of course, not to be confused with Formula 1 Curse, the old energy system of old. Of course, he would love to have some of that around the circuit, I imagine, especially with the poor exits that he's been getting out of that first sector. To Timo Klinger then in P8. Ahead of this battle and looking to chase down the Brazilian Pedro Migueles, who's had a really great start, actually. He's gone a little bit under the radar, but the Brazilian, we have to keep in mind, running with no doubt higher internet ping than most of the other drivers. A very international field here, no splitting of the regions. We've got to make do, and doing an excellent job indeed is Pedro and, well, Gianmarco Fiducci. We were expecting a battle. That battle is gone, and Dusan Miloradovic is up into P2. He deserves it because he's not gotten any track limits warnings or penalties. Fiducci, he has very much been the architect of his own downfall here. At one time, battling and staying in the lead. Now, he's got to focus on getting P2 back.
If he can do it, I don't know. He's technically the faster driver, and we see how easy it is for him to close the gap, but in the end, he needs to stay consistent about it and find the perfect spot to just drive for the overtake. Then, at least, if he tries, he needs to hit it well. So I think he's in a very difficult position. And if you look at the body language of the car of Fiducci, you can see how unstable it already is.
And that is music to the ears of Miran Dilbarovic, the Croatian here. Looking to go around the outside of Fiducci. Maybe break late into this village section, and he does break late, but Fiducci sweeps around the outside with that extra pace. He's got to watch himself, though, because Miloradovic is still there in front of him, and this is a really great battle. It's a shame to see Bo Dixon 7.5 seconds off in the lead. Probably not to Bo and his fans, of course, but to general racing fans, we love to see a battle for the lead. But a battle for the podium is the second best thing, especially when you've got 3 cars vying over 2 positions, Thomas. And right now, it is very much Dusan's to lose here as Fiducci looks to regain some honour.
To be honest, Dusan looks very confident to me. He didn't change anything about his driving style or driving line when he passed Fiducci. So I think you need to crack Dusan's mental power to get past him. And now, obviously, in 4 minutes left on the clock, it's pretty impossible. So right now, the guys behind him are more battling around position 3.
And a reminder as well, with less than 4 minutes left on the clock. Now, this one has flown by, hasn't it? Got to watch out for that P10 position. That is pole position for race number 2. And currently, it is Crespi who occupies it. But check out who is behind. You've got Botti, who was in P10, and Matt Webb on the charge from falling all the way down to P23. He is absolutely flying, whether there be damage on board that car or not. It is a monumental effort to get even this close to P10. He's got a couple more laps to make it. The question is now, will he make it?
He needs to put a lot of effort in it. You said it, 4 minutes. It means only 2. And there you can see how much effort he's bringing up. Oh man, that was way over the limit, and it cost so much time. He lost 0.3 seconds in that situation, and now he needs to bring back the tire temperature to find the last momentum and really break into. By the way, Fiducci just managed to get back to Dusan, and Dusan is really defending early. Now it is a good possibility to go around the outside, and that's basically what Fiducci is doing. Now he has the better...
Beautiful.
Woo! Shit! Ah, that was so close.
A shame. Sorry for the profanities once again, but that is a real shame there. Fiducci had a wonderful, wonderful move. Ruined, you would have to argue, by Milorad, who really should have slowed down. The move was complete. It'll be one that there's no doubt we'll take a look at. It's just Matt Webb there, clashing wheels with Botti as well. Surely going to be frustrated. P10 is there, you can see it, but he has to get past the stuff Italian first. And so Dilberovic then gets a free position out of that tandem. It's up to P2. Milorad down to P3, but then they get the further ramifications after that move. Vega in P4, Schlager P5, Maggots in P6, Kling at P7, and Fiducci's fallen all the way down to P8. He might actually see this as a bit of a blessing in disguise. As I say, there's no championship here. If you win, if you get a podium, it's for pride, and Fiducci is now going to be in the hot seat. And for a potential reverse grid win in race number 2 as Botti there with a slowdown penalty. And so surely Matt Webb is going to be through.
Yeah, and the biggest issue for Fiducci is at the gap. Oh, come on. Oh, it was such a gift he has just to take away, and then he loses his 11th position again, and then there's something I can't really describe what happened here. Dusan is out, he just pitted, so probably he had 2 less fuel on it, and that's something really surprising to me. What the fuck? Sorry.
Yeah, that's really surprising, and again, apologies for the profanities. Again, we'll forgive Thomas on this one, but we certainly cannot forgive Dusan for underfueling. That is a real shame. He is out of this race. He joins the likes of Dragon.
And look at what happened there because of it.
Yes, yeah, great spot. So Crispy's up to P8. So out of all that, yeah, Matt Webb is now in P10 and in pole position for the next race. Further up the road, look at Andrea Crespi there on Patrick Kurz for P8 and P9, and Patrick Kurz is back through into P8, but Matt Webb, what a huge effort there. He required a large slice of fortune, that much must be given, but he's not going to be complaining one bit.
No, I don't think so, and that is something he really likes to be in. Getting the pole position far away from Bo Dixon, who certainly will rush through the field, and he has only 10 drivers to get back into position 1 for race number 2. But at least Matt Webb has a huge pace, and then something happened in the last lap. Karel Vega took position number 2.
Yeah. And let's go up to the front, shall we? Because Bo Dixon is surely going to be crossing the line now. In fact, he has indeed, and that was a dominant performance there. Helped in part by the mistakes of others behind, but it's going to be about 13-14 seconds. Karel Vega from absolutely nowhere. That is the advantage of keeping your tyres in shape, because Dilberovic is off the podium, would you believe? He's down to P6 now, is he? Where is he finished? Yeah, he is.
No.
Vega second. Schlager P3, Maggots P4, Klinger P5, Fiducci back into P6, and Dilberovic there. Where even is he? P9, P10.
He takes away the pole position. No, he's running out of fuel. He's running out of fuel. It is impossible. Oh, come on.
Unbelievable.
Oh man,
it is unbelievable. Can you believe it? He's not even going to finish inside the top 13.
Come on.
Push it, get out, push, get out and push.
Oh no, oh god.
What that means for the end result, so Klinger is P5, Fiducci P6, Crespi 7th, Kurz 8th, Matt Webb is going to be 9th, so Alessandro Botti is going to be thanking whatever illustrious religious deity he believes in, whether he believes in one or not. P10 for him. He does start on pole position for race number 2. Michael Julian, the unlucky guy, missing out there in P11. Your retirements from this race: Milorad, Kurd, Holberger, Heinrich, and Cheng. And we go straight into race 2 after this, Thomas. Unbelievable scene.
Yes, and one got gifted the pole position. It's Alessandro Botti now on P10, and one got ripped off. It's Matt Webb. He has an unlucky race, right? I mean, P9 is a nice position if you're fighting for a championship and you get some points, but at that point, You don't get any points, and so you would have loved to get the pole position, right?
Botty wanting to he took my religious deity comment a little too seriously there, wanting to get a little bit closer, heading for the skies. He's back on the ground now. It is race number 2, another 20 minutes on the clock as we see the FR3s for the final time this evening. Of course, Bo Dixon has to start all the way back in P10 now. So I'll be curious to see how, if he can fight his way through the field. And for Matt Webb here, a chance at redemption, Thomas. Starting P2, he'll be hoping for a hell of a lot better a start than he did in race 1.
Oh, please, please, please. Get in at the first gear. Don't wait until the lights are out and then just go for the ref limiter and try to find as much speed as you can.
The red lights are on for the final time with the FR3s this evening before we all take a little break before the main event. It is the RaceRoom GP of Silverstone and a little bit of contact in the back there, but you can see up here in the front, Botty is miles clear. Whatever first gear or clutch system that Webb has, it is not great, is it? Because he's already lost position to that man, Gianmarco Fiducci. Once again around the outside, goes to Dutchman Patrick Kurz, although I think that Webb might still be in with a chance fighting for position. You see Bo Dixon already gained 2 on the start as we head on well straight to the Fiducci wants to fire again. Already let's go to the back of the lead. Fiducci, much like in race number 1, is going to take the lead in the race. This time he'll be hoping that he stays within track limits. This time he'll be hoping that he can pull an advantage on his compatriot Alessandro Botti, who's forced to settle for second.
Yeah, I hope he can hold it and he doesn't mess it up now. But from behind, someone is already charging. It is Bo Dixon. He is runner-up for position number 7. And we see Matt Webb is going for position number 2. He's getting a little bit wide, loses lots of momentum while going over the curb. So that's something he certainly don't want to have.
You never really see cars going around the outside of Copse, but Matt Webb almost making it work there. Battling away. Bo Dixon now up to P7 past Kevin Schlacker. But I mean, look at this gap that Fiducci is now looking to make. He'll be hoping that his compatriot Alessandro Botti can keep Matt Webb behind as long as possible. Matt Webb's certainly the fastest of the 2 drivers if you look at qualifying. And that's a nice little undercut from Matt Webb, but on the exit, Botti does get a good amount of speed down into the failed chicane. That's nice and late on the brakes from Botti, and Matt Webb swarming over him like an angry bee. But it's so good. As we head to the second lap, it's Fiducci who leads from Botti, Webb, Kurz, Crespi, Vega, Dixon, Schlacker, Klinger, and Burnt rounding out the top 10.
Still, this battle holds on. Botti has to do much work to hold his position number 2. Matt Webb, and someone is charging! That was Kurz, and he hit his teammate, at least from the car he had chosen, and another hit from Matt Webb, who already loses some position, so he finds him on position number 5. Bo Dixon already on 7.
Like a freight train, didn't he? Oh my goodness me! And Kurz all over the back now of Botti. As here comes Matt Webb looking to overtake 2 for 1. No, it's not going to happen. Unbelievably, it did kind of work out for Kurz from around the outside. Oh, it's Carol Vega, not Matt Webb. Matt Webb's down to P5. Carol Vega onto the podium once again, clean around the outside of Patrick Kurz. Beautiful move.
Nice, you can see the experience of Karel Vega. He's 65 years old and obviously driving lots of races since years, so he knows really how to overtake. Now the door shuts in the last second, so Botti tries to really hold his position number 2. I don't think he can do it as long.
I'm not sure either. As the slowdown penalties start to come into force then. Carol Vega, as you rightly say, one of the oldest men on the grid. Crespi with a slowdown penalty as well. This should be like taking candy from a baby for the Frenchman. But we've seen Alessandro Botti be pretty adept at defense himself, but there is no defending against that sort of pace differential. It is all too easy for Carol Vega, who moves up into P2. That would be his second podium of the evening if he can convert it. But he's got a long way to go now before catching Gianmarco Fiducci, who is 5 seconds clear at this point. A massive advantage for the Italian, who's not looking back.
Nope, but he has no time for it. I'm already coming back to Bo Dixon, who charged up to position number 5. His fastest lap is 1:54. It is way under his pace, but you can see how easy it is for him to overtake. Now he got mud wrap. Seriously, something Matt doesn't like, and you can see it on the body language of his car. He's hitting the sausage curb on the left side, and that seems like it was more like a nervous move than something he did conscious.
You'd have to say that that is Matt Webb's chance of victory, well and truly put to the pyre. Up in flames unless the extraordinary happens. And to be fair, the extraordinary can happen in motorsport and in sim racing, as we've seen all too often. Next on the hit list will be Botti, although that's not the greatest exit, and Bo Dixon offered a free walk through the door, so to speak. You can see Carol Vega there has gained a little bit of time on Botti, but it's not Botti's got to worry about now. It's the race one winner.
Yep, and he knows how to handle this track perfectly. It seems like Bo Dixon was running lots of races on Silverstone. By the way, a little bit back, it is Matt Webb who tries to get now Botti. Both drivers were just pinched back a little bit in the field, but they cannot let loose. So it seems like they like each other.
Up towards Stowe, Matt Webb in the slipstream and still no doing. This is going to be horribly frustrating.
Yeah.
I believe no damage on that car, but given how much effort and hard work he put in to get into this position, into a front row start in the first place, to see himself now down in 5th once again, you kind of feel like this is all very much not the sort of race weekend that he was hoping for. And Botti there with some really nasty responses. He is forced out the way. That's finally the defence gone. A bit of Italian driving, you might say, in the urban streets of Rome. But for Matt Webb, he won't care how Botti's driving as long as he gets away with it clean. And he has gotten away with it clean. P4 then for the Brit. Although, to be fair, I think a podium is now the best that he can hope for from here.
Yep, and he needs to run away as quickly as he can, because Patrick Kurz is already charging, Klinger is already charging, but we jump a little bit further, because it seems like there is a new scapegoat for Bo Dixon.
Carol Vega has a stroke there, couldn't speak. Carol Vega got a lot of experience on his shoulders to work with, but you got to say Bo Dixon has certainly been the class of the field over the course of not just these two events, but qualifying in particular. And it might be a qualifying race setup, but it's got a lot of pace to hand in this race.
Look.
He's so close, isn't he? But there's not much you can do through Maggots and Becketts, not unless he's alongside him.
Nope, you now need to find the perfect line, and obviously Carol Vega is doing very, very good. So Fiducci probably already saw that Dixon is that close and hopes that Vega is defending as hard as he can. Oops, sorry, that was a misclick. Oh, Bo Dixon, can he do it? Nope, and that's something I like about Carol Vega. He is not defending at situations he not necessarily needs to defend.
He's just driving the line that he wants to drive. And the only way that he won't be driving that line is if somebody else is on the inside for him. He's waiting for Bo Dixon to commit to the move. He feels like he's not really... To be fair, I don't think this is going to be this race in the end. There is still over 12 minutes left to go. I don't think that Carol is going to be defending for 12 minutes. It's very much on Bo Dixon to make a mistake at this point or to get the move done. Will it happen into the village complex? No, it will not. And actually, to be fair, Matt Webb is probably going to have to buy Carol Vega a drink after this race has come, because look at this, he is right in the battle now, although with mistakes like that, I thought he was going to be offered any more opportunities, Thomas. Can't throw this one away, not when Carol is doing him a massive solid.
Now he needs to cool down his tires. They're already cooking. You can see it. Look how much he's pushing the car over his front tires, and he certainly will lose it in Lewfield. Now he picked up some dirt. So he needs to calm a little bit down. I know he wants to pinch through to the same hole Bo Dixon probably opens up when he can overtake Carol Vega. But yeah, it doesn't mean anything if you cannot control the car. And again, he nearly loses it.
looks more like a karting rig, as their whole Bo Dixon was maybe a little bit audacious there, going down the inside of Maggots. He has to stay behind once again for now, and that's just fine for Matt Webb, who's offered an opportunity to catch back up. We last saw Alessandro Botti fighting for the top 5. He is now out of this race, would you believe? We don't know what happened, but unfortunately he's retired along with Dragon Kern for the second time this evening, and Joachim Leistner, who was down there in P26, the first retirement of the day. Still on board, though, with Bo Dixon as he tries to make his way past this very non-plussed Frenchman. Quite happy to keep on driving as he has been, and fair play to him as well. He's been driving beautifully, but it all hands advantage to Gianmarco Fiducci, who remains 7 seconds out front. Actually gifted an opportunity, Thomas, to save his tyres for a little bit. He's in cruise control.
Hopefully he's doing it, because I think if Bo Dixon can go past Karel Vega, he will really go and boost his car, will boost his lap times, and then he will certainly drop under the 150. He needs to show off then that he can go the pace, and there's a huge mistake of Karel Vega. Bo Dixon just backs off a little bit, so he loses the necessary momentum to go now at the end of this straight. It's difficult. It's really difficult with these cars to overtake if you're going the same pace than the car in front of you.
It really is. There's another couple of retirements coming through. Michael Julian and Kieran Cheng for the second time as well. That's a real shame to see Kieran out, especially coming all the way over from Asia to race in this race, although of course he's racing from home, so I guess it's not as long a trip as you expect, but it's certainly a long way for the internet to go, as Bo Dixon is almost bomb drafting Karel Vega through Copse. Incredibly dangerous there, but you can see just how annoyed he is. Get a move on, he says. That Webb is here, he says. But
oh, what a save, and then he loses it. Oh, come on. Phew.
And that's the problem that you were saying earlier, Thomas. You overheat the tyres if you push too hard, and that is exactly the strategy that Karel Vega was going for. Frustration, and Bo Dixon's off the podium.
But yeah, we have 8 minutes left on the clock, and we saw that Matt Webb already was pushing like hell, so I think Bo Dixon can at least take his P3 back. But yeah, now it becomes a little bit more difficult. The time is running out, the tires are running hot, so let's see what he can bring for us. We jump a little bit back and take the advantage to look into the rest of the field, since we were only showing the podium.
Absolutely. So it's Timo Klinger here in P6, trying to catch down Patrick Kurz, who's done very well. Still there in P5. Behind these guys, Crespi P7. Pedro Miguel is still there in P8, with Kevin Schlacker P9. And then it's back to P10, where you find the guy who was battling away for the podium so fervently in race number 1, Dusan Miloradadovic. And he's joined by the Croatian Miran Dilberovic himself, who was in plenty of trouble, but for all the different reasons. He ran out of fuel in his car, and certainly all of the drivers, that's going to be a scare, I imagine. They'll have maybe overfueled just a little bit to make sure that they make it to the end. Timo Klinger with a nice attempt at the undercut there, but Patrick Kurz is holding serve.
I mean, in the end, it's just all about mathematics. What did you gain when you're having an advantage of 0.1 per lap because you have less fuel and then lose all the race in the last corner? It's, I think, easy mathematics. So Klinger could not really get an advantage out of the situation, even though it seems like he can push a little bit harder than Patrick Kurz.
And again, one of these drivers who's been a little bit under the radar, Timo Klinger, but has put in a very nice performance. He can certainly call himself proud, although a top 5 will do his confidence the world of good as well, moving forward. Plenty of slipstream to eat up on the hanger straight, but does he have enough on Patrick Kurz, who we know is running a lower wing car that has been his advantage around Silverstone? And I think Timo Klinger, he'll be looking at these final 5 minutes as crunch time, as hopefully Patrick Kurz tyres, from at least Timo's perspective, will start to wear down a little bit too much, where the car becomes just a little bit more unstable, and Timo can pounce.
But look at the cornering speed of Klinger. He's really doing nice in the fast corners, and yeah, it becomes more and more a struggle for Kurz, who needs to defend at situations you really don't want to defend. So especially turn 1, you want to go full flat out, you want to go the full lane, and if you can't do it, you certainly say, all right, my time is done, you will certainly take away my position.
unfortunately, Jürgen Hülberger joins the likes of Cheng and Julian on the bench now. He's also out the race, but I think we've got to go back up to our podium battle because it has been resumed. Timo Klinger, they're going to have one last chance. Might be able to get Kurz, actually, who's gone very wide indeed. And there is Kurz on the inside. He's been able to recover it just about. Timo Klinger looking to go around the outside as we exit Luffield, and no, Kurz is just going to stay there on the inside. We will go back up to that podium battle in just a second, but we will see the conclusion of this one as Timo Klinger clinging to the outside before Kurz finally gets the pace advantage. He's going to be ahead going into Copse, but onto the podium battle now. Carol Vega second, Matt Webb third, but Dixon fourth. It is literally that close. You could throw a blanket over the lot of them, and Matt Webb is struggling. Those tyres heated up once again. Bo Dixon smells blood in the water.
Oh man, sometimes you need to be brave as a commentator not to switch too early the camera position, but now we find the right momentum for it. 5 minutes on the clock, and it seems like not only Matt Webb is struggling, also Karel Vega, so probably Bo Dixon feels that he can charge up to position number 2. Oh, what was this?
And that was a little bit too hot into the Vale chicane. I think that was a little, almost an identical situation to Bo Dixon, of course, a few laps ago. Just hit the inner workings of that rear wing of the gearbox. And once you hit that at those low speed corners when the tyres are overheated, there's no saving that unless the car decides to go in a straight line of its own accord. And Matt Webb, in a similar fashion to Bo Dixon, then loses the podium. And Bo Dixon is left to his own devices with a 2.3 second gap over Matt Webb. He's now got Vega all to his lonesome, as there's still a big scrap here for P8 as well. For Bo Dixon, it's a second bite of the cherry for him as he attempts to take P2.
Next time I will certainly bring more PCs to have more split screens, because I don't know where to put the camera right now. We have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fights right now, and yeah, then we go to Bo Dixon and he backs a little bit off. I think the next situation will come soon, because 0.24 seconds distance, there's just a small gap, and you can see how fast Bo Dixon is on the long straights.
An update in that Klinger Kurz battle as well. Klinger has actually made his way past Patrick Kurz into P5. As Bo Dixon there, you could see he was so unsettled, wasn't he? He's pushing so hard. We haven't mentioned Gianmarco Fiducci in the last 5 or 6 minutes. He is well clear, still by 7 seconds, still not pushing, but he might have to push a little bit more because Bo Dixon, I feel, lining up the move. He has to pull back in.
Look at the confidence of Vega. He is not even moving slightly. He knows, no, Bo, you will not go in that momentum. And now he brakes very, very late into the last chicane. What a beautiful move! But I think now his front tires are really, really cooking. Karel Vega, can he make it back to position number 2?
You could. It was just so confident, wasn't it? It's like, go on, make the move. Go on, go on, make the move. Well, I tell you what, that was a beautiful move from Bo Dixon around the outside of the Vale chicane. P2, well and truly deserved. And now that he is ahead of Karel Vega, he's not going to have that dirty air. He can reel his tyres back in. Because quite frankly, I think with 2.5 minutes left on the clock, that is going to be the best that he can manage from P10. Patrick Kurz, another beautiful move in the space of a minute around the outside, going into the village section. But on the return now comes Timo Klinger. The two are going to go side by side down the Wellington Straight. And we know that Kurz has the advantage here with that lower wing setup behind. You can see the ever-ensuing battle of P7 down to P10. Klinger holding on to P5. Yellow and black Deutsche car as Patrick Kurz gets it all crossed up on the entrance to Brooklands, and that's allowed Pedro Magalhães a bit of a sniff of Brazilian. That's the siesta for P6.
And now Kurz is in a little bit of a trouble because, yeah, the pressure is up from behind. He certainly wants to focus on the car in front of him, but now, yeah, it seems like the Brazilian is pushing hard, a little bit too hard. So there is the air to breathe again. He can try to push back to the yellow-black car in front of him. So, but we can see Karel Vega cannot hold the speed of Bo Dixon, and we certainly can see that Bo Dixon is not able to really push to the Italian guy. So that means if Fiducci is not doing a huge mistake, it will be a little bit troubling.
Pedro.
But then
Pedro's done a massive mistake. He's down to P11, look.
probably he pushed too hard, right? Maybe he wanted to get Kerr's position, pushed too hard, and yeah, the tires overheated. And then in the midfield, which is so dense, you can see it up right here. It is basically a fight of 3 cars at the same time. Yeah, he loses all up to a P11.
Oh, and Matt Webb's got a drive-through penalty. We saw flashing up when you were chatting, Thomas. Matt Webb with a slowdown warning, a slowdown penalty, and he has ignored both of those things. He now has a drive-through penalty. That said, it's the final lap of the race, so I'm not quite sure how this works out, because in theory he's going to the pit lane, and I don't know whether that would then convert the drive-through penalty into a time penalty, or whether that has to be done by the stewards afterwards. Either way, that is his podium challenge done and dusted. He'll be lucky to keep P4 if he is lucky enough.
I can spoiler you, he will get a 30-second penalty given by the game, and he hopefully doesn't try to lift off the drive-through penalty, because then he get penalized 2 times, because he needs to finish it in the pit straight. So, and unless he cannot, it is impossible. And now he spins, he loses it again. Oh no, don't escape, please don't escape.
I mean, to be fair, his race is done, isn't it? And he is out of the race. It was miserable for Matt Webb in race 1. He did so well to reach back to the heights that he did. But it just wasn't to be. However, it was to be for this man. He had such a great fast start in race number 1. It kind of fell apart at the seams. He was able to stay in the top 10 picture, though. His luck shone on him in race 2, and Gianmarco Fiducci is the reverse grid race 2 winner here at Silverstone. Bo Dixon behind. He closed by 2 seconds in that last couple of laps. He gets the race win in race number 1. He gets P2 in race number 2. Surely the MVP of the appetizer section of this RaceRoom GP of Silverstone mini weekend, wrapped into a 1-race evening Friday. Karel Vega with the second podium of the day for himself as well, P3. Timo Klinger, P4. What a result for him. Great work from the Finnish driver. Patrick Kerrs, P5. Schlaka 7th with Miloradovic, P7. Crespi, P8. Dilborovic, P9. And Pedro Miguel is able to recover back to P10. Unfortunately, we have plenty of retirements in this one. The likes of Webb, Yerschel, Hilberger, Cheng, Julian, Botti, Kerden, Leistner, as is always the case in race 2, Thomas. A lot more, what's the right word? Attrition, that's the one I was looking for. A lot more attrition than in race number 1. But all fair play needs to go to Gianmarco Fiducci, eliminated the mistakes that we saw in race number 1, and the race win deservedly is.
Yeah, Fiducci did everything right and hold his nerves. I think that is probably the most difficult thing, especially if you failed that hard in race number 1. I mean, there was no pause you really could rely on or something. So he needs to find his pace, and he need to find his rhythm as fast as he could, and he did. So yeah, I have much respect.
All right. As do I. So just to give you a little update on what's coming up next. So we have quite a lengthy break now coming up before we head into the FRX situation, as there is your confirmed results. Dixon with the fastest lap, no surprise there. Fiducci the winner, with Dixon and Vega on the podium. We've got about, so free practice for FRX starts in about 20-30 minutes or so. And I think we'll go for a break now and look to come back, let's say... We could come back at 6:30 CSET potentially. We'll figure out in due time. But Thomas, any final thoughts before we head to our break?
I'm really excited about it, because we will see faster cars than we saw right now. I know that there are people who really grinded out everything what they could find for the leaderboards. I know Michael Steven is able to drive a 1:24, and I'm curious to see how could really challenge him.
The South African certainly one of the favourites going into this Grand Prix. We'll take you through all of the runners and riders, all of the contenders, all of our predictions, everything that you need to know in due time. Get up, get a drink of water, get some snacks, and then strap yourselves back in for the Grand Prix of Silverstone, produced by RaceRoom. Don't go too far. We'll be back after this break. Right, we had a little break there. I misread my time schedule, and so as you can see, or well, you could see before I was, the schedule was there. Basically, qualifying is going to be happening very soon for the FRX. Pre-practice, what I read was that it's starting at 6:30 CEST. My brain isn't working, which means the qualifying is starting very shortly indeed. It's going to be 10 minutes qualifying, followed by a 70-minute race. And we hope to see many wonderful performances here from many wonderful drivers. Welcome back, Thomas, who is just working his magic in the background. We have a very colourful field indeed. We have the likes of multiple South Africans. We've got the likes of Trinidad and Tobagans. We have the likes of Malaysians, Belgians, Italians, those from Singapore, from Russia. It is a multinational field in one of RaceRoom's premier Formula cars. I cannot wait for the main event to begin.
No, and we need to listen to these awesome cars. They have probably the most awesome sound in the game. I just love them. I just love them to drive because they sound that nice. It's I can't talk more about it. It's, seriously, I think that are probably the most beautiful cars in any game, because they have the look and feel of the 2017 Formula 1 cars and the sound of the 2013 cars. So what do you want to have more? Seriously.
Slice of cheesecake while I'm watching. Honestly, Thomas, that'd probably be a step up for me. But of course, I'm on a diet, and so no cheesecake for me today as we head into qualifying.
What do you want more? Chips and vigor.
Exactly. It's like you're reading my mind. The Russian then, Kirill Sokovikov, who has our first flying lap of the day. We've already gone through Silverstone multiple times. You know how this track is laid out. And for Kirill, he's already having to deal with traffic. A 29-person strong grid today. That does feature some names that we have seen before. The likes of the aforementioned Michael Stephen, real-life racing driver hailing from South Africa. The likes of Damien Hall, the Tobagan who we've seen in the EWTCI. The likes of Michel Kasperink, who has got plenty of experience in these Formula cars as well. But ultimately, it doesn't matter what your name is, Thomas. The only name that's going to matter at the end of this 90-minute period, pretty much, between qualifying and the race, it's whose name is on P1 when the checker flag flies.
Absolutely, and there are some obstacles. So we have, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 or 3 times tire usage. So you really have to think about the compounds you want to use during the race. You need to stop at least once. Maybe you found a possibility to stop twice, and you see Michael Stevens struggling so much because the field is so slow, obviously, for his pace. So he will probably not be the one who sets a pole position time.
Let me just grab my timing up, and then I can tell you a little bit more about the ins and outs of what modifiers we have on. So fuel is at ×2. It won't be for the want of tyres, but the fuel that we might need to see some strategy come into play. Tyre wear is at normal. We have 3 tyre compounds. The yellow is soft, the white is medium, and the orange is hard. A full tyre change will take you 3 seconds. A 50-litre fuel injection will take you around 6 litres. That's about 8 litres per second. These are 150-litre tanks. The ×2 fuel modifier will force at least 1 pit stop, and DRS is available from lap 2, not lap 3 like Formula 1. Lap 2, you have to be within 1 second of the car in front of you by the recording line to be able to activate it. You can see it, for example, there as we go through the village section. There'll be 1 DRS zone on the Wellington straight, 1 DRS zone on the Hangar straight, and when activated, you can use it. Oh, no, sorry, my apologies. We don't use it like DRS zones, do we? So you can use it 3 times per lap when you pass the start-finish line. That was where I was getting a little bit.
This is insane. Yeah. So if you really manage to use the DRS well, you can find some weird situations where probably someone could be surprised as hell.
So effectively, it works much more like a push-to-pass system, as you'll see in DTM, than the DRS that you're accustomed to in Formula 1. So there's going to be some interesting strategy on the fuel front, there's going to be interesting strategy on the tyre front, and there's going to be some interesting strategy as to when you use that DRS, because again, you can use it 3 times per lap, and so if you don't use it 3 times per lap, you're effectively wasting those opportunities to get yourself closer to the car ahead of you. But I think everybody's going to be looking to get as close as they can to this man, Michael Stephen, who's already close to 7/10 up on the current provisional pole position time set by his countryman, Graham Stephen. I wonder if they're brothers. I wonder if they're brothers. They might be.
I think so too. I need to check it, but I don't know. Didn't get this information, but could be. Would absolutely tell us why they are so fast, because I think they exchanged then the setups, and probably Michael Stephen, who is a real driver and is going in a GT3 race with an Aston Martin next weekend, gave away a little bit of his experience.
That lap that Michael Stephen set is 1.1 seconds faster than his brother. He's on the pace already, you can tell that much. And again, it's a short qualifying session. Okay, the cars go a little bit faster, but it is still 1 minute 20 to 1 minute 30 laps. And around this track with only 10 minutes on the clock, you've really got to get your business done nice and quickly. Here's Chasen Bright then, currently in P3. With no flag to tell where he's from, we will call him a denizen of the internet so that we don't, get the information wrong. He's definitely someone who lives on the and he's someone who's living in the gearbox, whoever he just ran into was going very slow through Sector 3, to be fair, and I think Chasen's going to be a little bit annoyed there that he didn't move out the way.
Yep, I think so too. I mean, he has a good position, to be honest. If someone is charging, he will probably lose only 1 or 2 positions, so it is okay if you go for a 70-minute race. You don't have to worry much, but obviously you want to catch the guy in front of you, especially if it's so close. I mean, the difference between Graham and Jason is, what is it? I mean, only 1/10, right?
Exactly. So as things stand with 3 minutes left on the clock, it's Michael Stephen ahead of what we presume to be his brother Graham Stephen in an all South African front row. It's Bright third with Thomas Olivetto, the Belgian fourth. Damien Hall, he's got his fan club here today. He's running the blue Monster Energy car, and he's P5. They're going to be delighted. Calagero Lopez P6 with Michel Casrink P7. Renaud Herbion in P8 with Gianpietro Venieri P9. And Tobias Marcard in a beautiful old-style Lancia Castrol livery P10. I adore the green and red of Castrol. I'm delighted to see someone pick that livery for the grid. And another lovely livery is this green Monster Energy machine of Adrian Scholtisek, who's currently the last of the runners and riders in the order, P29, but he's yet to set a lap time. He won't be happy with the blue and yellow car of Rafael Alves, the Frenchman, there in front of him.
No, I don't think so, especially because Adrian is a very fast driver, so he wants to see himself at least in the top 10 for the qualifying result, and then yeah, you can just take some positions in village and probably some while starting, because these cars obviously produce lots of wheel spin. So if you're able to control it perfectly, if you maybe have a double clutch system or something, then you can go to P5 or something, but right now he's sitting on P29, which he obviously don't want to do.
And this is his last lap. Let's stay on board with it, shall we? Let's see how far up the order we can do in what is effectively a Super Bowl session for him now. Big shout out to our admin behind the scenes, Cy Cunningham as well, who's there on media duty and administration and all the duties with all the information as well. Casson Bright, also South African. So South African 1-2, well, it was the South African 1-2-3, I think. So Thomas Olivetto there, the Belgian coming in for the 125.725. That is still 1.1 seconds clear from Michael Stevens, sorry. That's how fast he's going. Adrian Stoltzek though, that is a very nice sector one, only 2/10 down from the dominant Steven. That is beautifully taken there as well. Look how fast, say, Maggots and Becketts comparison to the former three cars. 4/10 off by the end of sector 2. As things would stand, this would put in P2. If this is Super Pole, this is one hell of a Super Pole lap. Lovely from Stowe. You can feel like the car is almost running on rails. It's looking so comfortable. Takes the Belgian game beautifully as well. Now second apex. Nice and early on the power. Around the final couple of corners through club and across the line. Where does Adrian Stoltzek stand? He stands in P2. He had one lap to do what he needed to do, and boy did he do it well. That's a 125.4. It's still 8/10 away from pole position man Michael Steven, but given the tools at his disposal, Thomas, that is a mighty effort.
Man. As I said, he is used to be in front rows and he showed his skills. So yeah, let's see how he can do in the race. We certainly know who could possibly win this race. Still, he has to overcome the next 70 minutes. So there's always a chance to make a mistake, especially if you have to pit more than once, then you have the chance to speed or something. Yeah. Let's see what they can do. I think the fight around the podium will be pretty tense.
Absolutely right. So 70 minutes up on the clock. Not running to laps, of course. And so really, as opposed to Shanghai, where tyre management and tyre choice was the big determining factor, here it's how well can you hold your drink. The fuel is at a premium. And we are expecting at least one pit stop, but it's a question of how much fuel you will need to take on board at that pit stop, which could be the difference between second and third. I'm sure that you'll be wondering why I didn't say first and second. Well, Michael Steven, I think, is going to take an act of the racing gods to hinder his progress. It all begins here at the start, though. We've seen poor ones today already in the FR3. The FRX 17s are about to get underway, though. We're racing for the final time at Silverstone, and unfortunately, everyone's going to be shaking their fists at the racing gods because Steven gets away well. Graham Steven also, with Thomas Olivetto there in P3. Adrian Stoltzek there with a 4-star to go. Into the village section, he's going to get crunched, and Thomas Olivetto there really at the outside of the club, bounced away. And he's going to be falling down the order to P5. He's going to be a little bit annoyed. But Justin Bright there, the big winner, has moved up. Look at the advantage that Michael Steven has already. He's 1.5 seconds clear of Graham Steven, who's left in his dust. As we go back into the midfield, that's a a front wing loss for another South African, Ian Riddle. Well, probably this. Why did you break earlier? You rejoiced the track very dangerously as well. That's really poor conduct from Ian Riddle. If you've got a damaged car, you respect the competitors around you, and it's an awful start for him, but at least everyone else can get away well.
I mean, 70 minutes, there's much time to get back. It could be possible, there was no better time to lose your front wing, to come back. Damien Hell just makes so much trouble for the guy who was behind him. I think it was Remy Pag. Wow, it was a little bit of trouble, but there is someone else who probably lost the car. That could be Michael Stevenson. Then you see how Jason Bright is just distracted by the car in front of him and loses instantly 1 second in one turn. It's impossible.
I've got to question, did the Stevens spin off in synchronicity? Because Chasten Bright was P3 behind Graham Steven. Graham Steven himself 1.5 seconds by Michael Steven. And for whatever reason, Michael Steven, that car does not look in the healthiest of states. There's wibbles and wobbles in all the slow speed sections, and you can see him just wiggling there, wondering if there's not enough heat in the tyres. We can see him running that yellow ringed compound, so he's running the softest compound along with Chatston Bright, but Chatston Bright in these lower speed corners is looking mighty, really hassling the back of what we were presuming to be the runaway favourite.
Wow, I cannot explain what it could be, because how will you get the damage by it? I don't know. It could only be a suspension damage. So probably Michael just hit a sausage curb harder than he should have. That's the only explanation I have for this situation, because yeah, look, he gives away his position because he would just be dangerous.
How bizarre. So Chatston Bright, the man who we didn't know the nationality of until literally 2 minutes ago,
wow,
takes the lead of this race. And not all is well with Michael Stephen in that car. And I'm wondering, let's go back to Graham Stephen as well. Is there similar issues there? Because Adrian Scholzesek, who had a poor start, really starting to prove a problem here as well.
It could be about the internet connection. Maybe both drivers are sitting in the same room. I know from Michael he was concerned about his internet connection, and then you lose the fake. You lose literally anything, and you have to predict every single breakpoint. That is something you really don't want to see yourself in. So maybe it is that, but in the end, I'm not quite sure. If you're 2 or 2.5 seconds faster than the rest of the field, I would say lag is no excuse.
Agreed. It's one of those things where you've got to take responsibility. You've got to take responsibility for the situations around you. Of course, we do have admins in the back. If it is deemed that the two Stephen brothers are running dangerously, then they will be called to exit the race, and at worst it can be removed from the race by the administration. So we certainly hope that's not the case. We hope that the internet
I don't want to do No.
We certainly hope that the internet connection is able to settle down, and we hope that it is only a small blip, and that it's actually made this race a lot more interesting. Scholzesek here looking to certainly make it more interesting for Graham Stephen, irrespective of like David Hall there, sadly with a slow down penalty. And it looks to me like Michael Stevens found his pace again, but he's lost 4 seconds.
Something is really
Wait,
not wrong. What is up to change? Oh no! Do you know what happened? I have the. I'm 100. Yep. He started with the qualification fuel, so he had everything in hand, and then. Oh no! And that was what has confused us. Surely, if you start with a full Formula 1 car, you lose lots of speed. And probably Stephen was like, "What the hell?
What's going on?
What's going on? I mean, why can't I hold this driver?" And man,
well, to give you an idea of the fuel difference, by the way, so Michael Stephen, his fastest lap so far, a 1:27.0, of course, his fastest lap, a 1:24.6 in qualifying. So about 2.5 to 3 seconds difference between the tank that you're using in the race and the tank that you're using in qualifying. Chatston Bright, you will not be surprised to hear, was running comfortably in the 1:26s. And that would explain an awful lot, as it looks like Scholzesek there has got a slow down penalty as well. So a lot more slow down penalties coming through for these FRX drivers, and confusion has been sorted, then it seems. So Michael Stephen and Graham Stephen in much more comfortable positions now. Scholzesek into the podium position with Michel Kasper in P4, Gian Pietro Venieri in P5, and Thomas Oliveto unfortunately dropping down to P6. We have our first retirement of the day. It was actually the first car that we were looking at of the day as well in the FRX category. Kirill Sukubikov, the Russian, out with whatever reason was the problem. And that was a very confusing couple of laps, but it seems like we're back on track now, and Michael Stephen with a comfortable 5-second lead over his brother.
Oh man, and we were just figuring out what could be possible. The reason, I mean, you never really think about it, that someone could just start with a qualification fuel. So now Jason finds himself back in position 23. That's certainly not where he wants to be. But now we look at Damien Howe, which is nearly to Damon Hill with his name.
Swap out the engine, right? And you take out the eye.
You need to do much things, but I think Damon Hill is really close to Damon Hill, which is one very, I would say, well-known Formula 1 driver back from the 90s.
On it now, definitely one of those drivers who made. You hear about those wonder moves like Hamilton from McLaren to Mercedes. Looking how well he's doing now. You look at horror moves, the like of, I don't know, Fernando Alonso's entire career.
Look at how he's doing it around the outside. He finds his confidence, and then I think it's Giancarlo Ciappi, right? Man, there were literally two drivers at the same time who tried to go around the outside. I think the Italian guy had this slipstream, dirty air around the outside, whatever effect, and then loses just the car. It was really a bold move, to be honest. Oh, Scholtisek also around the outside, managed it a little bit better.
Over in the livery of Stephen is forced to sit in third for now. And that's good to see from Scholtisek, but the damage is already done after that force. What is it about second place and starting bad today? Maybe it's just that side of the grid. Scholtisek 6 seconds behind race leader Michel Stephen. I'm getting confused with Michel Caspary. Michael Stephen.
What are they doing? What are they doing? They're passing Lufield with 3 cars. Oh man, they're really excited about racing, right?
Why not do it? I mean, if you've got, that was really respectful between the 3 of them as well.
Yes,
Span and Kamil Jablonski there with the advantage coming out. Out of Copse into Maggots, Becketts, and behind you've got Calagero Lopez, Belgian. You've got, let's have a go at this one, should we? Gandebuff Gerald, or is it Gerald Gandebuff? I'm not sure. I would say Gerald Gandebuff because Gandebuff sounds like a surname. That's like, Buff is beef. I don't know what Gande is though. I would have said like Grand Beef or something. It's like Petit Jean. It's like small. French surnames, they're crazy. They're crazy. I love them. It's Gerald.
It's Gerald. I think so. Yeah, it's the guy from Witcher, right?
Yes. Yes.
All right. We are done with all the bad jokes, I think. Oh man. So yeah, it seems like Graham is close to Scholtisek. There is no big gap for the first time. A little bit back further, there is Gian Pedro, who probably can go for a move soon. It seems like Caspering cannot really hold the pace he wants to go. Right now they are around 127 high. And look at the body language of this car.
Forgive me. Oh, there we go. I was very confused about the tyres going so defensive there. Michel Caspary, and why not as well? Because John Pietro Vianieri has just done an absolute stunner around the outside of Stowe. What a beautiful move from the Italian there to make his way up into P4. I apologise. I was slightly confused about the timing, like the actual time of the race, because it was counting down from a minute. And I'm like, has somebody got this wrong? No, we have 10 minutes. And then 60 minutes, because our clock can't do 70 minutes. Technology has its limits, folks. We found that out here today. And speaking of limits, Chastain Bright on the absolute limit now after the faux pas of going onto the track with solid fuel.
Yeah, he finds himself back in a very good pace. It would have helped if he could have gone for some kind of useful undercut. Now he really has to fight, and look how beautiful he's doing. I mean, someone is just saying, all right, now you're too fast, I'm going off the track.
I think somebody forgot their wallet, and they were handing it over at the trackside, weren't they?
I don't know.
John Marie Pagni, he's had a bit of an adventure today, isn't he?
But to be honest, it's really difficult to drive this car as fast as the guys are doing it right now. You need to be unbelievably precise all the time. And depending on what kind of equipment you have at home, you probably get another spin. No. Depending on the equipment you have at home, it can be really, really stressful. I mean, physically. I've driven them here in the office with the direct drives. Seriously, either way, you pull down, do force feedback, or you go for some training moves before.
I can drive them. Let's put it that way. I can drive them. And I noticed that this man, Tobias Markart, has unfortunately had a couple of penalties, and somebody's got to play off. Yeah, that was Bradley Combs there, who qualified near the back, and through pure attrition has found himself up in P15. Ahead of them, of course, is the already adventurous Jean-Marie Pagnou. And these guys are 8 seconds behind Giacomo Chiappi, who we saw earlier in that battle for P10, which is still raging. And somebody who we want to shed the spotlight on is somebody we've not spoken about yet, the Malaysian up in P9, Ayman Hakim, who we saw feature in the land final of the EWTCR, which of course was featured in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, in the city centre. And it's great to see him back on track and doing very nicely indeed. I think him and Damien Hall almost have this like cult following at this point. Two countries that are not exactly the biggest production lines of racing talent, but both of these guys loving their sim racing and loving the fact that they're in the top 10.
And I'm very happy to see them here again, because sometimes races go well, sometimes they go bad, and it's always a matter of will you stand it, will you grind yourself back into esports, and obviously Ayman did, and he just keeps on holding it, and yeah, so it's nice to see him driving another car and getting more experience in it.
So the closest battle on track then, with major positions at stake. You see here P4 and P5. From Pietro Venieri, who has got that absolute huge movement around the outside throw. Michel Kaspering fancies his chances back. He is using the DRS. Remember, they get 3 DRS usages per lap.
I think Kaspering really should back off now. You can see how much he's turning, how much he's steering. I think the tires already, I would say, crying a little bit if you see the angle, how much he steers, and then yeah, you see all the understeer he already produced. You see how much he's sliding through the track. So I'm not quite sure. Michael Kaspering seems like he knows how to attack this track well, but in the end he needs to think about the tire management.
Took way too much curve on the inside of Becketts as well, and I'm sure that if you are a Formula One fan, then over the past month or so you will be well accustomed to the teams telling the drivers, stay off the curbs. These tires aren't, dealing with it well, or the suspension's not dealing with it well. And that's one of the great things about sim racing in 2020 by this point, is the simulations are so realistic that we can reproduce that level of wear on the tires, that level of damage on the suspension. And so you can't really be doing that too often, otherwise you're going to find a similar situation to what Matt Webb was in the Formula 3 races, of course, where your tyres overheat, your tyre wear starts to escalate, and all of a sudden your car becomes completely undrivable.
Someone who probably thinks the same about his car. But, yeah, let's head back to this awesome fight. I don't know how Kaspering pulled it out, but he did, and now he needs to find the way to the apex. Yeah, and now hold his position. That could be probably the toughest thing. He shots out his last DRS for this lap, and then yeah, the Italian guy will have the DRSs. Maybe it will be a turnaround game all the time, but they really will not help each other. I think if they keep on doing it, Thomas Olivetto will probably catch them.
It's been a disappointing race so far after qualifying P4. He's not really hung with the top 5 even on race pace. You can see that battle between Kasperink and Venieri off in the distance, but he's kind of in no man's land, isn't he? 3 seconds behind Venieri, 3 seconds ahead of Ugolini. And really we have to go back now to this battle for P10 with Gerald Gandebuff looking to try and overtake Ayman Hakim. And Ayman Hakim, they're very slow there, and I think that might have been a connection issue, because you could see his car jerking back, lagging back. And Gerald, I think, is just going to be happy that not only he's got the position, but more importantly, his car is still in one piece.
Yep, and it seems for me like Ayman Hakim defended a little bit harsh, so yeah, he did some moves I would do with a GT car, but not with a with a open wheeler, and that puts him in a position yeah, that costs nearly every momentum. And if he's not aware of this, he probably will be sacrificed by the 2 cars behind him, because they are really fast, and it seems like they can hold their lap times over him. Yeah.
Chiappi and Jablonski, the two who are watching and waiting. And as we head towards 50 minutes left, almost 20 minutes deep into the race, Jeff Mack and Kirill Sokovikov, there we go, the 2 drivers currently out from the 29-strong field. And Steven has led from the beginning as, oh my goodness me, could you get Copse any more wrong? I'm not too sure. He's got a slow down penalty, Eamon Akeem. Chiappi, that position is yours for the taking.
Oh man, that was really unfortunate for Eamon Akeem. So it looks like he was a little bit like a suspension, and under the most pressure he could find, and then shot away in the wrong direction.
I noticed though the tyre compound though, Eamon is running the medium, if I'm not mistaken. He's running the white compound tyres.
Let's check it out. We can see it in the yeah, he's running the medium. So
yeah.
let's say maybe he's not running the wrong tires. Maybe he's running the perfect tires, and doing maybe the wrong moves, is a little bit too aggressive, tries to defend too hard, and yeah, destroying his tires. Probably he can get lots of positions back.
Oh,
Who was that? Kamil Jablonski.
I'm surprised he kept it out the wall. That was very well saved, because that looked like it was spearheading towards a crevice in the tyre wall, unfortunately, on the other side. We saw actually Kimi Räikkönen, didn't we? Way back in 2013, I want to say. It was a while ago. It was a different incident as well, where he got caught up on the outside on the exit of the village section and then spearheaded across the track. Jablonski there losing it on exit and just going off the inside of the track with what seemed like overheating tyres again. It is a hot day in England, I can tell you that for sure. I've got my mini fan on my desk whirring away, keeping me as cool as I could possibly muster. And talking about mustering, that's a nice attempt there from Giacomo Chiappi. A little bit easy when you consider DRS was part of the picture. But that is P9 for the Italian, as Gondebuff is forced down into 10th.
Gondebuff, yeah, but he doesn't still very good, I think. He's trying to chase and trying to hold up the pace. Same applies to this guy, who probably get Casper Ring back. So these two guys, yeah, I can
very
say
nice.
They paid for their personal entertainment.
That is really nice work there from Jean Pietro, but here comes Michel Casperink once again, and he is through again. These guys giving us a thrilling battle. The Dutchman and the Italian walk into a bar. The question is, what type of bar? The type where the drinks are thrown, or the type where both of them are going to be banging their heads and saying to each other, well, I'm sorry. I'm hoping that they keep the quality of battle up, because quite frankly, this has been beautiful to watch. Casperink currently with the upper hand, as we have just gone under the 50 minutes to go mark.
Casperink already lost 6 seconds to the podium, so these two guys are never ever fighting again for the podium. Not if the guys in front will not help them. Scholtisek, by the way, 15 seconds behind Michael Steven, so he's just Michael is just firing up a huge firework, obviously, so there's nothing you can do against this man. Even though he now spins, he will stay in front. But those two guys, they have their fun. They try to entertain us as much as they can. Gandebuff, by the way,
has lost his front wing.
Yep, not only this, he lost lots of places.
This is understandable. I do wonder how it happened, but to be fair, as we said earlier, he's been the adventurer. not in a positive way either. He's been exploring parts of the track that you should not be aiming to race on. And I'm afraid that is any chance of a top 10 finish probably down the pan.
And there is a little spoiler. There are not many Easter eggs in the tracks of RaceRoom. There's, I think, only one Easter egg you can find. It's in Imola, so it's several thousand kilometers, digital kilometers away from this track. Oh, that
very interesting here. Look at this. You've got the traffic interrupting the battle between P4 and P5. And I believe this is going to be... Oh, we've got a pitter. Actually, that is a fair shot or a fair shout from Jean-Pietro. I was wondering when we were going to see our first pitters. Michael Stephen, our race leader, is in. He's going on to the soft compound tyre again, which surely means to me that he's in for a two-stop here. He's going for the shorter fuel and quicker tyre option. What about Jean-Pietro Vinieri? I think that was a great time to pick considering the traffic ahead of them. What's the Italian go on to? It looks to me like he's going to be sticking on the soft. He goes up on the jacks now. He comes back down and he is going to be sticking on the soft compound tyre. So it also looks like he's going for the two-stop.
So who was in front of Jean-Pietro?
That was Michel Kaspering, who's now in P2. It looks like Graham Stevens is also
And that was just an awesome move from Jean-Pietro. Michael Kaspering is stuck into lots of traffic, so he is not able to really bring the maximum pace down. Probably loses lots of seconds while Jean-Pietro now can give his chance to the fastest lap. And
not with that though.
Not
oh, that's a slow down penalty as well.
Oh,
that feels a little harsh, but he's going to have to take it. I am curious about Adrian Scholtesik now. Where is he on track? Is he going into the pit lane?
He's not.
He's going to keep going. If I was Adrian at this point and I saw that my nearest competitor for the win was 15 seconds ahead of me, I would try and keep those tyres going as long as possible, go for a one-stop. Because there is no way that you're going to win on pure pace at this rate.
No, but actually, what want you to do? I mean, if the tires already are gone, I don't know. Will you really stay on the softs? And what is this? Oh no, I'm on the wrong car. I thought it's Jean-Pietro again who's pitting. No.
It's Giacomo Chiappi here, along with Thomas Olivetto, who's coming into the pits.
Yep.
Looks like Michel Kaspering has gone round again.
Let's see if we can do. Yeah, Michel Kaspering is stay out. So I don't know. Maybe he has a different approach. He stays out for some more laps and then take the mediums or the hards, so he can go for one stop. I don't know. Maybe.
Of course, Eamon Akeem now in the top 5 as well. We know that he is already on an alternate strategy starting on the mediums.
And he's actually chasing up Graham Stephen, who is on softs again, and he has fresh softs, so it seems like the mediums aren't that bad.
I think that Stephen just overtook him, unfortunately. Yeah. So it's the other way around. That's a proper Croftyism, is expecting one car to be taking over the other, and it's actually already happened, the overtaker. Chiappi there, you'll notice, with a drive-through penalty. The same goes for Jean-Marie Pagny, speeding in the pit lane. Now, we might not have the real-life people taking part in the pit lane, but the etiquette is still to be respected, as Adrian Scholtesik, our race leader, is now into the pits. Michel Kaspering still going round, and Adrian Scholtesik is picking up another set of softs. Michel Kaspering is in as well. There you go.
And it was so unfortunate for Scholtesik that he got the first box, so he was his angle was not really perfect. Could be that he loses some time. Let's see where Jean-Pietro is getting.
As Kamil Jablonski's been disqualified for speeding through the pit lane. That is, we talk about bad etiquette, well, that is the worst of its kind. And I noticed he's gone behind Jeff Mack, actually, so it looks like Kirill Sokovikov. We didn't say how he retired because we didn't see he was disqualified as well. It seems I missed that one. And Kaspering there is going to be delighted because he has not only jumped Venieri, he's not only stayed ahead of Akeem on the alternate strategy, but he's jumped Graham Stephen as well. An unbelievable first hit for the Dutchman.
How?
He must have taken less fuel.
Yes,
he must have taken
it is impossible otherwise. It is really impossible. Maybe he started with a higher fuel amount and says, all right, I can start the race with slower lap times and then improve from stint to stint. I don't know, but this is really great move. I think Jean-Pietro is wondering where Kaspering will come back, and he will certainly never.
To fill in. behind with the capturing. No DRS it seems to be used by Graham Stephen. He's already used it twice. I would always save it. One for the Wellington straight, one for the Hanger straight. There's a car off there in the tightest of the grass, and Graham Stephen forced to slow down a bit. There's Look at the key!
And that could probably a podium for Eamon, because now he's in the perfect situation. Look, he can attack easily Stephen, even though he has the slower and the older tire. So that is basically a big gift.
He may have the older and slower tyres, but he's also running a lot less fuel than Graham Stephen at this point in the race.
Oh.
And you can really see just how big a difference less fuel in the tanks can make. We saw it earlier, of course, with that mishap with Justin Brighton using the qualifying fuel loads at the start of the race. Well, now we can see it in practice in different tyre stages and tyre lives as well. Fascinating state of affairs as we go towards the 40 minutes left to go marker. It's Michael Stephen who leads. He's actually gained 3 seconds through the pit stops on Adrian Scholtisek, who now has 10 seconds on Michel Kaspering. Graham Stephen really the big loser here as he's embroiled in this battle with two people on two very different strategies. Gianpietro Venieri still there in P6 ahead of Thomas Olivetto. Venieri must have wondered whether Kaspering could come out well behind him. No, he's well ahead of you, Gianpietro. We're just as surprised as you. Calagero Lopez, Tobias Marcard, and Simeone Ugolini is rounding out the top 10. The retirement so far, Max Jablonski and Sokolnikov, those two latter ones with disqualifications, as Ugolini taking a little look at Tobias Marcard, who himself has had a number of slowdown penalties. It has been such a fascinating race so far, Thomas. And the fact that there's still 40 minutes left is fantastic for us and the viewers.
And I'm always wondering what the drivers are thinking when they try to attack at Stowe. It's, I mean, did you ever see someone really getting a position on the inside of Stowe when you're a car length behind it? And that is physically impossible. Still we see it so many times here. So I think Ugolini could have been much faster in this lap already.
And a shout out again to Sai once again, who reminds us duly that the Shanghai RaceRoom Grand Prix was won with a soft compound strategy, of course. It's not like Formula One where you have to use two different types of compounds. The tactical choice is free. What a save from Graham Stephen there as he went through Maggots and Becketts. Again, he's only doing his own race harm, however. Michel Kaspering is doing everything he needs to do to stay ahead.
Oh man, but do you know what I'm thinking right now? We definitely should bring up a FR3 17 championship, because this is just exciting. It's the second Grand Prix we see about them as a special event, and it's just exciting. It's a complete different racing we see than we are used to see from the WTCR or the AEC GT Masters.
Stick some sponsors behind it. Get on it. And let's see it happen. So Graham Stephen then is going to be no doubt a bit perplexed and a little bit frustrated. Easily one of the top 5 fastest cars. Michel Kaspering, at least on first impressions, not so, but doing mightily well. Eamon Akeem starting to fall away a little bit now as those medium tyres start to wear beyond their welcome.
But not too far, right? It's just 1.7 seconds, so yep, they're falling off a little bit. Ooh.
Well, ultimately as well, if he's going to be one-stopping, which I would assume he's going to be one-stopping given that he's gone into that choice of tyre from the beginning, I mean, that's all he needs to do, because these guys, we're all expecting him to stop one more time, and that stop is going to take, what, 20 to 30 seconds?
Not that much, to be honest. I mean, if he's only stopping once, he gained the whole time. Everyone loses if they stop a second time. So basically, everyone in front of him will lose his position against Eamon. But yeah, now we need to look at how long he stays out and how long he can stay consistent about his lap times. It's easy to call him a podium driver. In the end, we have 38 minutes more to go.
It's true, but we're also reaching that point. 35 minutes in, it proves that he can take the mediums that far and at a good pace as well. And keep in mind that with the fuel on top of that too, he will be needing a longer pit stop to get more fuel in the car, but that's the only time that he's going to need to put fuel in the car. And to give you guys some perspective, so again, we're expecting about 25 to 30 seconds here pit stop advantage to be able to stay ahead of Eamon on that what we believe to be one-stop strategy. Michael Stephen is currently 23.5 seconds ahead of Scholtisek. So even with the two-stop strategy, it seems that Stephen is unstoppable right now. But you look at Scholtisek, you look at Kaspering, and you look at Graham Stephen, and those guys were certainly...
Oh, Graham Stephen! Now he loses it! So it was too much. He had too much dirty air, obviously, and then through Copse it was too much. So now, 2.8 seconds gap on Eamon. No.
And that is awful, isn't it? As Scholtisek as well, I noticed, picking up another slow down penalty. How long is it going to be before the black flag is flown? And all this, of course, helping the likes of Mitchell Kaspering, but more importantly, Eamon Akeem. Actually, to be fair, though, Kaspering's already had one stop, hasn't he? So he's actually going to be okay, since Eamon Akeem still needs to make that stop, as is Scholtisek. So I'm thinking if Eamon Akeem was going behind drivers who hadn't had a stop. These guys have had a stop, and so everyone who's ahead of him should stay ahead of him, especially with a better tyre compound. But the likes of Venieri and Stephen, they've got a lot of hard work to do from here.
Especially Graham Stephen, he needs to push really hard. I think it does not really fit his strategy, especially when you think you can save the soft tires for a easy second stint, and then you find yourself back behind the top 5 drivers. Now you can see it, how easy it was for him to just catch up to Gianpedro. Now he needs to find a way past him, and also not only passing him, he needs to manage all the traffic around this. So it really grinds down his tires.
Nice work from the back marker. I believe that was David Buckley moving out the way. Teammates, of course, with Graham Stephen, just running the same livery. And first on Stephen's climb back up the order will be Gianpietro Venieri. We've seen a great overtake from him. Let's see what his defensive might is all about.
It's a good possibility for Stephen to just try to go for a dive bomb, I wanted to say, but no, unfortunately there is more traffic.
I think that was Ian Riddle as well, who we know has already had problems, as Graham Stephen loses it in the most bizarre place, out of club. I mean, he was lucky not to lose his front wing. He careered off into the gravel. He did hit the barrier. There might be damage on the suspension, but all pieces are back on the wagon, and Simeone Uglini is back into the pits, and Eamon Akeem comes in for his pit stop as well. And so for Graham Stephen, it goes from bad to worse. For Eamon Akeem, let's see what tyre compound he's coming out on. I will imagine surely it's going to be the medium tyre for the Malaysian. And there it is. It is a one-stop then for Eamon Akeem, who comes back out into P9. And now we look ahead, 25 to 30 seconds up the road. Graham Stephen is there. David Walters is there. And Ugolini is there. So I think for Eamon Akeem, a top 5 would be a good finish for him from here. But to be fair, given where he was starting, given the strategy that he's employed, it would be a mighty fine finish indeed.
Yeah. I don't know if Eamon really did a good choice with the one-stop strategy. I mean, it was a pick, it was a decision in the end. But from all what I've seen through the race, I think he has such a constant and clean line. He could have gone for the 2 stops. Probably he would be around Michael Kaspering or something. So it would be a little bit easier to really try to catch for the podium.
It looked like he synergized so well with that medium compound tyre, though, Thomas. And I think certainly if the 2020 Ferrari in Formula 1 is anything to go by, sometimes a driving style in a car is wonderful with one type of tyre compound, and then you stick it onto a harder compound of tyre or a softer compound of tyre, and it feels horrible to drive. Eamon clearly feels comfortable with the one-stop strategy. It means there's less variables, less stuff to go wrong in the pit stops. And he feels comfortable on the medium compound, and we've got to give him credit. His pace was super good to not only keep up with, but potentially overtake those cars on fresh soft compound tyres. And Jean-Marie Pagny there, another Another diversion off into the grass for him. He's had a miserable day at the office, hasn't he? But I'm pleased that Eamon's found something that's worked, and we'll have to see, certainly, by the end of this race, still 33 minutes left to go, of course, where it can end up, because there is still plenty of opportunities for mistakes from the guys ahead of him.
Oh man, and one you saw right now from Tobias Marquardt, who had to fight against the snap oversteer of this cars. If you just push them through the limits, it's and a little bit above it, they don't say anything. You really can't push, but then certainly out of nowhere the car just flicks around as if you would have a huge counter steer. It's called snap oversteer, and boy, he catched it.
Snap. Graham Stephen in, back on the charge. We'll be hoping for less of that snap oversteer. Oh. And David Walters, who we've not really talked about too much this race, just going about his own business, having a jolly old time. Who is just ahead of him? This is a back marker, surely, or is it Ugolini who we're with now? No, it isn't.
It isn't Ugolini. Ugolini is...
Yeah, Ugolini is like 6 seconds up the road. There's David Walters there, forced to stop on the brakes. And I've got a question. What was that back marking?
No, he's still back marking. Who is it? Let me check it out. It could be either this guy. Nope.
No.
This guy? Nope.
No. Is it Pagny again?
Yeah, I was thinking the same. I don't know who did it. Maybe Herbillion? Is it? I don't know.
Take us back to Graham Stephen again. take us back. Take us back. So, I think that is Pagny, you know.
Is it Pagny? Let's. Yeah, it is Pagny.
It is Pagny.
It is Pagny.
Wow.
Wow.
That was some poor back marking.
Ooh. Maybe he's so focused because these cars are really difficult to drive that he is not able to watch it, to the left side of his screen and sees the big blue flags. I don't know. It's the only explanation I have, because I don't think Pagny really wants. No, he's not fighting. You see, he's aware that he gets past. I don't know. Unfortunate.
Unfortunate is certainly a word that could be used. David Walters comes into the pit, so no more back marking issues there for Pagny to deal with in the short term, at least. That's back to the battle for P10 then, and it's Giacomo Chiappi who's having to deal with the recently pitted Eamon Akeem. Akeem there tried to cut off the nose of Chiappi. He was having none of it, was he? And Giacomo going to remain in that P9, which he's just taken. And Eamon Akeem, of course, remember the sort of downside of those tyres, apart from the pace differential, is they take a little longer to get up to temperature. Once you're there, you're pretty solid. There's not really much risk of overheating, but certainly the pace differential a little bit too much for the Malaysia to deal with right now.
Yep, and you could see it easily at that overtake maneuver. He didn't really defend it hardly. He just accepted what happens around him. So I guess he saves a little bit of his compound for the next 5 minutes and then try to attack as hard as he can, because his race already ends. It is his last stint. It sounds a little bit weird, but most of the rest of the field is only in his penultimate stint.
I'm so glad now we're focusing on this person that I finally get the opportunity to say, "Pwah, it's Vincent." That's it. That's all the analysis I had for this moment.
Okay.
Good job going on hard tyres, but you know.
Yeah. Oh, he's on hard tyres. So what?
He is on the hard tyres. Yeah.
We didn't
make it look like we were looking to put the spotlight on him because he's on hard tyres.
Yeah. Obviously. All right.
From Singapore as well. Great to see you here, Vincent Foy there, and up to where to next? Because honestly, all of the gaps have kind of spread apart to a decent degree, where nobody's really at threat of overtaking anyone right now.
It gives us an opportunity to bring some nice faces. It brings some different pictures right now. But yeah, you can see it. Kaspering is 11 seconds in behind Scholtisek. So here nothing happened. Gian Pedro, he got his position gifted by Graham Stephen, who flicked around 2 times, and I don't know how he managed to stay his car alive, but he did. So Stephen is on position 7. Someone we didn't see a long time was Olivetti, right?
Yeah, he's he had a lot of promising qualifying, didn't he? But it's all of a sudden transpired to be that his pace is very much average. And that's about all you could say about it, wasn't he? I mean, he's had a very quiet race. He's not really overtaken anyone. He's not really been overtaken. He's just stuck to his guns. And P5 is a decent result, but
no,
I think that any racing...
Isn't it pretty good? I mean, top 5 is something you can be proud of, especially when you see all the guys struggling with the car. I mean, we have already lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars and lots of spins, lots of contact. So I think P5 earned by just being one of the most consistent drivers. It's pretty good.
But here's a question for you then, because of course this race is not part of a championship, so really it's win or bust. You call podium or bust, you could say. Thomas Olivetto there in P5. He's not had much to do. Would you rather be in P5 and having a boring race, or would you rather be in P9 like Eamon Hakeem and battling a load of other people?
I would take the P5, to be honest. It's
really?
Yeah, I mean, four positions better than P9. So why? What is this? Why is the camera?
I think Alves might be on the precipice of disconnecting. Oh, he's there again. Oh,
it was just a weird TV camera at that point.
I think that was Price Marcard who just overtook him actually. Good on board.
Yeah, what the? Who was it? I mean, it looks like someone left back because it was definitely...
It was someone who left back. Was it Riddle? I think it was Ian Riddle. He's the other, yeah.
What? All right, P19 is unlapping himself, and it seems like Rafael Alves is really struggling with his car. Look, another one is trying to lap back.
Yeah, that one either Remy Pagny or Gerald Gunderbuff. 2 Frenchmen languishing back in P20 and P18 respectively. Could be with my man Lippens as well, another Frenchman. We've had some more retirements as well since we last checked in on that contingent. Unfortunately, Damien Hall, everyone's favourite Trinidad and Tobagan, is down there in... or is he... Sorry, is he Dominican Republic? I might have gotten that flag horribly wrong. Dominican Republic. No, it is. So Trinidad and Tobago. See, this is the advantage of... No, I've got it wrong again. What is this flag? I've got it wrong, and I'm horrified that I've got it wrong. I'll check in a little bit. He's out, unfortunately. Chasen Bright, David Buckley, and Brad McCombs also out with them, sadly. And so we are left with 22 runners and riders with 25 minutes left. It's still Michael Stephen dominating out front by less than 30 seconds. Thomas, I'm gonna rectify this. I'm gonna find out what flag it is.
It is the flag of Barbados, Britannica.
Oh, it's a Barbadian, of course. Yeah.
I put down blue, yellow, blue because it is not the most common flag. So, all right.
That's a big old oof. This is why James Kirk doesn't usually deal with nationalities unless he knows the drivers very, very well indeed. Much the case with Ladislav Beckett. I know that flag is either Slovenian or Slovakian, but they are 2 very similar flags. And I'm not going to dare decide on which one for the moment.
Maybe we should definitely change the topic. Back to this awesome overtake possibility, to be honest. Gerald is closing the gap to Herbillion. Two drivers we know where they are from. They French, Belgian fight here. But in the end it seems like... Ooh, what is this?
Oh?
No.
Okay.
You were.
I think I might have misclicked there as I was closing one of my tabs.
Well, but you hit a car. You hit the car of Kirill Sokovnikov, right? And so it looked like like Gerald in the middle of a fight just escaped. Lol.
And so Ganderbuff then getting on the back of Renault Tourbillon, the Belgian. That's for P17 and P18, and Gerald looking rather eager indeed. But given that he's down here in P18, and given that we know how he got down here in P18 as well, I'm sure he's going to be a little bit more conservative now, as Tourbillon very much has his eyes and ears about him. He knows that this Frenchman is hungry for better positions.
Still, he tried to make the move in Stowe and take away the possibility to just drive and chicane. So he is not that calm as he could be, as he should be maybe. So yeah, now he needs to close the gap again. Runs fast with the DRS and maybe gets the inside, but still he opens up the apex. So it's always a chance to counter, right?
Gorgeous move from Gerald. And P17 is his, but just how far further up the order he's going to go is first of all dependent on whether Renault can make a move back. Bit of a wiggle through Copse and all really straddling the curbs there. Unfortunately, Ganderbuff has 30 seconds left to close down Lequen. 30 seconds, that's close. He's got 30 seconds up the road to find on Lequen. As Michael Stephen comes in, we saw there for his final pit stop. You'll be surprised to know that he actually did not come out in the lead. He didn't have a big enough gap. And so Adrian Scholtesek once again takes the lead of the race. Although it very much feels like a pretender to the throne situation. He knows just how far behind he is right now.
It's only 5 seconds. The gap between Scholtesek and Stevens. So if Scholtesek pits the next time, yeah, you can see it. But I'm quite curious how the rest of the field sorts himself, because yeah, all the pit stop strategies will come to an end soon. I think 5 to 10 minutes, and then we really know how the field is mixed up. And then I'm curious, will we see some more fights again? Because yeah, it is always the same in this indoor race, right?
Absolutely. Graham is stepping in for his final pit stop as well. I'm curious to see where he comes out in comparison to Eamon Akeem, because we'll see just how good or bad this one-stop strategy was. Graham Stevens already coming out of the pit. You know what, it's going to be tight here. Here comes Eamon Akeem. I think Graham Stephen has done enough to jump him. Around the first corner, Eamon Akeem. Where is Graham Stephen? He is out ahead. You can see him just going through the bottom of your picture there. He is in the village section, and Eamon Akeem, it's a valiant effort, but he knows that he is going to be behind Graham Stephen unless more mistakes come out from the South African.
So I did a bold prediction in the early race when I thought maybe Eamon could jump on the podium with a strategy. It seems like we know now better, because P7. I mean, even though Ugolini will stop and he will give away his position. Yeah, it is probably the last position Eamon can take.
Hasbrink also into the pits for his second and final stop. He had 30 seconds on Giampiano Venieri, and Olivetto, that's the most exciting thing that we've seen happen to him all day long. But the problem there is that he's got a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And I glance down to the timing beam and I see that he's down in P19 already, and it looks like, they're all coming through now. Another drive-through penalty and a slowdown penalty for Eamon Akeem. He might have made the strategy work if he hadn't got caught up in traffic, if he hadn't cut the corners. But now that strategy is very much not going to pay to his advantage. Michel Kasprink, by the way, he came in P3. He came out in P3.
So we can certainly say he did the best racecraft, beside maybe Adrian and Michael. The rest of the field were always fighting at least to some point, and
P6, by the way. Graham Stephen is on the back of Simone Ugolini. We know that Ugolini needs to pit soon. With this battle about to be joined, and Adrian Scholtesek is into the pits now for his final stop.
Yep, and you can see how big the gap is growing right now. 70 seconds, and Scholtesek is not out of the pit. So
that's not bad though. He's actually gained time.
Yep. 21, 22. Oh, yeah. Nope.
He has not gained time on Michael Stephen.
He gained time. He's not. No.
Quick correction there. He has not gained time on Michael Stephen. That gap has remained at about 25, 26 seconds. Unfortunately for the viewer, for Michael Stephen, he's not going to care. He won this race by the first corner. He's got so much pace in his pocket. Which, fair play to him. What a drive he's been for us.
Yep. Even though we thought he could have damaged his car in the first laps, and then...
Yes! Well, I mean, to be fair, that's actually all the more credit to him, because that was such a bizarre situation to deal with, to see.
Yep.
Chaston Bright, of course, no longer a part of this race. fly past him in the opening lap. He must have wondered what's going on as well.
Oh, Ugolini did hit the apex, get very aggressive on the throttle. Car is flicking around a little bit, and still Steven is so focused on the tail of Ugolini that he cannot take advantage of this mistake. Now he's doing a little mistake, taking a very late apex, and the car! You see it, Steven. I would just start betting €5 that Steven loses the car in the next few laps.
Is that including conversion rates to pounds, or?
We are not allowed to have this kind of games officially, so we
Oh, I see. Okay. In that case, no bets for us. But if we were betting men, then potentially. Yes.
Oh, look, Ugolini with the mistake.
Ugolini, and that is a slowdown penalty for him. We've seen that a couple of times today. It might seem unfair if you're not in control of your car. And is that really fair to all the drivers around you? Graham Stephen up into P5, Ugolini down to P6, and surely going to be entering the pits in the next couple of seconds, I would imagine. Yes, in he goes. Those tyres have had it. And for Graham Stephen, it seems like now with 17 minutes left on the clock, it's going to be a bit of a boring race to the end. He's nearly 17 seconds behind Gian-Pietro Vinieri.
And as our chat admin, probably it's Georg Ordner. I can just only assume it, since I know that Robert takes his free evening, and he's pretty satisfied that he has not he is not the one who's producing that stream and can have some free time.
He's a busy boy. He's a busy boy.
Yeah, obviously. Shouts out, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I always say, if you don't like it, just hit thumb down. So we need to know it. Obviously we need to know it if you like it or not. While Iron Riddle is coming in and taking his new tires, I would say, you have to split up this race in 3 parts, in 3 identical parts. Otherwise you lose so much time if you go for 2-stop.
Another slowdown penalty.
Oh no.
For Eamon Akeem.
Oh, no.
They're starting to rack up. He's in P6. Lucky for him, he's got 19 seconds clear of David Walters in P7. And really, these large gaps, they're what we come to expect from FRX once we come to the 2nd or even 3rd stops in these races. There is such a pace differential between a lot of these drivers that it was always bound to happen. And I think Eamon Akeem, now we were saying the P5 would be a good result at the beginning of his one and only stop, of course. It looks like he's pretty nailed on for P6 as things stand.
Yep. And we got a information from the chat. It's Pedro Henrik who says, Graham going on with a damaged suspension. I would be curious, this is a first-hand information or if it is just a guess, because...
Well, he did hit the wall, didn't he?
Oh yeah, right. So
there was suspension damage on that car we did.
It's freaking awesome. It seems like Graham is not able to go really a super fast speed, but he can hold on the same speed he's going, even though his car is damaged, right?
I'm going to be keeping a beady eye, Thomas Pina, on Eamon Akeem's gap to Graham, because he might have the fine gap over David Walters, but he's only 10 seconds away from Graham Stephen. 10 seconds. Ooh, that's a bit of lag there. As come back in. There we go. The ping settles down. 10 seconds is not that big of a gap to try and close down with tyres that degrade at less of a rate than the softs against a car that's got bad suspension that's going to be wearing those softs down even quicker than usual. And in 14 minutes, I think that battle for P5 might very well flare up again right at the end if Eamon can keep the pace up and stop cutting the track.
Yep, but you see under which pressure he already is. He's trying to push, and drive. I didn't want to bring the driver of the day.
I might have been joking today with how I introduced him, but driver of the day might not be fair.
Oh, no, that was not intentional. I wanted to bring the driver info, not the driver of the day.
Whoa, look at him, he's up in P10.
Who?
Keep coming, folks. It's Comedy Night here with Danger.
Well, do you have a personal relationship to Fua, or is it just because you like the name?
Oh, I just love his name.
Right.
It's wonderful. It enables me to make so many like segues into his into his name and what he's doing.
But it's awesome to see, you know, from a total different continent, still he's able to hold on on a European server. We already talked about it in an earlier stream. It's always difficult to find the confidence of back on a server where you know you will have ping issues.
Oh, for sure. And let's actually give him his due credit as well. I've made a couple of jokes here and there, but let's be fair to him. He took a one-stop strategy, much like Eamon Akeem, but he decided to go for the more extreme version. He started on the hard side, soft side now, and he's found himself inside the top 10, Thomas. That is a brilliant effort, and the fact that he's still hanging with the likes of Caligaro Lopez, who is closing him down to be fair, but he's in P10 right now. He's got 12 minutes to defend it. I think that's a wonderful effort, considering that it was a bold strategy in the first place.
You're totally right at that point. Let's see how long he can hold it, but actually there are just some guys who try to unlap themselves, and I don't know if they are not brave enough or if they are not fast enough. That would be now the interesting thing. It seems like Fua was able to just bring a good strategy and gain lots of seconds by executing it.
Unfortunately, it looks like we've lost another two. Simeone, actually no, it's only one. My apologies. So some people still coming with it. Simeone Ugolini, who was up there in the top 10 battle, sadly had a couple of slowdown / drive-through penalties, which he's decided is enough to send him packing for the day. Oh, what an avoiding manoeuvre from Gerald Ganderbrook here, looking to overtake Ian Riddle, who has been a little bit questionable in his driving stance today, it must be said. Thank you, I'm here all day. Gerald up into P17, navigating the danger.
And I'm not quite sure why the chat always are all writing David Walters, but I think, who's the driver of the day? Georg asked for it. So, yep, the chat decided David Walters is the driver of the day. I would like to know why. So,
he started P19 and P7.
Alright, so can I give him the driver of the day? No, it's not really fair, right, at that point.
We need to decide later on, because I mean, to be fair, you could say yes, 19th to 7th, that's a great effort, but there's been a lot of incidents going on. You could say, but you know, he stayed clean, but he is there not on pure pace. He's there because a lot of other drivers have fallen by the wayside. It's hard to look past. It's hard to look past me, the guy who's 27 seconds clear of everybody else in the field. But if I was to give another shout out, I think Michel Kasperink, given that he started in the midfield position, he played the strategy so well, and he's currently going home with the podium if he's able to keep that 12-second buffer between himself and John Pietro Venieri afloat.
I would totally support your idea about it, because you're right about it. Michael Kasperink, I was questioning his decision when Gian Pedro went into the pits earlier and tried to go for the undercut. Kasperink were just stuck in traffic, did one or two mistakes, gained a slowdown penalty, and still executed his decision well. Stayed out for 2 more laps, could bring down the speed on old tires, and fights himself back into podium, and on a very comfortable podium, right? So there's nothing around him, there's nothing he has to fear, and it doesn't seem like Gian Pedro Venieri will really catch him now. It's 13 seconds away, and it doesn't happen anything.
I think it's actually worth going back to David Walters, though, because I think that is where our next battle is going to be joined, because creeping up on him, you can see there, is Giacomo Diapi, and he has been gaining at a rate. To give you an idea, chat, on the pace differential of these two, fastest lap of the race from Giacomo's side, a 1:27.1. David Walters' fastest lap of the race across the entire 40 minutes, no, not 40 minutes, sorry, across the entire 60 minutes that we've been running so far, a 1:28.2. 1.3.
That is impressive.
1.2 seconds slower, and both of these guys have been on the soft compound tyre. Kiape's pace is way faster at the moment, and I think that we might very well be seeing an overtake, one final overtake, before the next 8 minutes are done.
I'm not quite sure. I mean, in the end, we talked about it several times. It's nice that you can bring down one good lap, or maybe you're able to have 10 fast laps in a race of 40 laps. But in the end, what does it matter if you stay behind the guy, which is basically 1.2 seconds slower than you? So and the guy who is actually that slow is recommended as driver of the day from the chat. This is pretty much, I would say, devastating, right?
It's devastating for anybody who made so many. I mean, honestly, I think. Oh, and that's another mistake. I think for me, that is one of the big differences between your top sim racing prospects and a lot of the guys here who put on a great show for us. It's been incredibly entertaining across both the F3 and the FRX categories. But it's just inconsistencies, isn't it? Not staying within track limits, a couple of sloppy moves, overheating the tyres a little bit too much. It really does go to show that, how good a job I think those guys who we see across multiple sims in those top teams, in those top, sim racing categories, just how good they actually are. And I think this is a fairer representation to show just how good they are than if you throw, say, a real life racing driver into a sim environment. That's a different comparison entirely.
Yep, it is. And now the attack comes. I'm getting a little bit proven wrong, but you can actually overtake through the inside and Stowe, but I never said that. You can't, and at that point, it seems like Giacomo was way faster than David Walters, so it is actually a good position to overtake if you're that faster. Yeah, let's see if he can hold this position. David Walters, it seems like he's luring. He wants to get his position back, but he doesn't know when or how. Now he misses the apex completely.
That is the difference. We apologize for the pro fans.
Again. you really need to watch the German streams.
It's a very different world, isn't it?
It is.
If stream, that's your job done. Your job's over as far as you're concerned.
I'm learning it. I'm very glad that this is not an esports stream right now.
And to be fair, for a first stream in English, I think you've done phenomenally well. And thank you very much for joining me. And I hope that you, chat, have enjoyed everything that has been put on show to you, whether it be audibly or visually. There's certainly been highlights for both as we enter the final 5 minutes of the RaceRoom Grand Prix of Silverstone. And a slowdown penalty there for Mikkel Kasperink is not really going to slow him down too much with such a big buffer back to Gianpietro Venieri. But it's to one of the most exciting drivers, maybe not in the way that we were hoping to see him, Jean-Marie Pagny, who's in P13. Unlucky for some, they say. Well, lucky for him. And I was going to say lucky for him, he's got Rafael Alves ahead of him. He's not going to be overtaking him with those sorts of lines through Stowe.
I have to say, he's quite lucky that he's still racing, right? If you could have, I don't know, some map analysis like in StarCraft 2, you would see by Pagani.
Like a heat map almost?
Yeah, he has some weird lines all the way through it, right?
I'd love to see the heat map of this guy over the track. It'd be hilarious. But fair play to him. He's stuck at it, bless him. And he might be going home with P13, which is better than a lot of people can say at the end of this Grand Prix.
And to be honest, he stayed alive, and that's something I really do appreciate and respect at that point. So obviously, we are having a good mood here. We are laughing because we bring some good emotions in the end. But it's not like we are making that big of a fun, because in the end, like Rom already stated in the chat, we are sitting here and just talking about the race and not participating in it. So it's a huge respect to him that he's that far in front.
It's all too easy to judge when you've got a comfortable seat that isn't going 180 miles per hour, and you've got a nice snack beside you and a drink of water as you leisurely armchair commentate on what's going on. Let's give everyone credit here. These are very difficult cars to handle. They are cars that I certainly could not handle, and anybody who is handling it and not crashing it into the wall is doing a pretty damn good job, if I say so myself. Even someone like Ian Riddle, he's made some mistakes sportsman-wise, but you know, we shouldn't be expecting that much from these people, given that these cars can twitch at a moment's notice.
And you saw someone who just crashed into the wall and came back perfectly. It's Graham Stephen, right?
Yep.
He's still on position 5 with a damaged car. What's going on in the back? Is it Iron Riddle? Yep, it is Iron Riddle. It looks fantastic. Who's in front? It is probably, yep, that was certainly some contact between the 3 drivers.
And so it's just over 2 minutes left. Where is our leader on track? Where is Mr. Michael Stephen, who is 32 seconds clear of everyone else in the field? Where is he out on track? Because I imagine we've got 2 laps left.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. We have 2 minutes.
Should we take a look at it?
And we see.
There he is.
Two laps.
So is this one? We could be in for 3 more laps, actually, including this one.
You think so? I don't. No. It's oh, it is this. Okay.
Oh no! It is. No, it's definitely. Yeah, no, it's this lap and then 1 more, and then we're done.
Yep.
But let's give this guy some plaudits as well, shall we? Because we've not really focused much on him, apart from when he's coming to the pits. He had a weird start, given that he had to deal with a car that was overtaking him, which must be weird for Michael Stephen. But he dealt with it well. He saw the car go into the pit, and he has not looked back once. He has the unbelievable pace and a strategy that just worked into the car.
Look at the speed. He's approaching Maggots with 300 and nearly 30 km/h, and going out at 240. It's insane. So
that was a twitch, wasn't it? Goodness me.
He's driving with a self-made direct drive. It looks a little bit weird. When I saw it the first time, I asked him, is it dangerous to drive with? Not only because it's a direct drive, it looks really dangerous, but it is not. And so I know he must be under physical pressure all the time. 38 seconds left on the clock.
And we are on the final lap then of a Grand Prix that's had thrills, spills, and a little bit of aiming and keeping it as well. Michael Stephen there looking to rush to the line. As long as there's no traffic to get in his way, it'll be a clean run to the line. Behind him, Adrian Scholtisek hasn't really had to do much. He did well to, I mean, we have to remember the qualifying effort that he put in. He had 1 lap because of traffic previously to get that, that perfect lap in. And he really did. To put it on the front row was brilliant. A poor start as well. He's recovered from that to get to P2. And the likes of Michel Kaspering, brilliant strategy to get up into P3. Gian-Pietro Venieri, we saw a wonderful overtake from him around the outside of Stowe. Ultimately for naught, as Kaspering has ended up 13 seconds ahead of him. Graham Stephen, great pace. A lot of inconsistency, but he's done well to stay in there with broken suspension. Eamon Akeem willing to go onto a crazy strategy of medium. He's going to be rewarded with a P6. That is if Giacomo Chiappi is not able to catch him in the final moments. But round into the Vale we go with Michael Stephen. What a dominant performance it has been from him. Michael Stephen, I believe, is truly going to be delighted with that one. A little wiggle at the end there as he slows down. He is the winner of the RaceRoom Grand Prix of Silverstone. And a long way back is going to be Adrian Scholtisek. We can see here Chiappi and Akeem, who are going to cross the line. So Akeem will be keeping P6 ahead of Chiappi. David Waters, Mark Hart, and Lopez are the rest of your top 10. So unfortunately, Juan not able to get inside the top 10 from Singapore, but P11 on another alternate strategy with hard tyres and then soft tyres. Great effort. Scholtisek crosses the line for P2. The last car out on track will be Michel Kaspering, a well-earned podium for him. Venieri P4. Graham, Stephen P5, and Thomas Bennett. That was a wonderful Grand Prix to once again show of some of the bubble talent that lies within RaceRoom racing experience.
Absolutely. I'm very glad that I am a part of this stream today and a part of this race. Seriously, we should think about bringing this as a season. Especially with these rules. So big thanks goes to Simon, who already found out some good rules for this class, right?
Oh, well, I mean, we had the tyres in Shanghai, the fuel played its part in this one as well, and the free choice of tyres in general, I think, is a wonderful addition. And we just saw some great racing at the end of the day, and we didn't know really in terms of the midfield or the podium what way it was going to go until the chips had settled. No surprise, the fastest lap, the race winner, Michael Stephen there, a dominant performance, and a performance that unfortunately with its conclusion brings with it the conclusion of this stream. Thomas, it has been a real pleasure commentating this with you. I could not echo your thoughts any more than you've already said. I would love to see a single-seater championship going on and ahead in RaceRoom, and big props to Sai for administrating it all. Big shout out to, we believe, Gail Gordner as the chat admin. Big thank you to the audience as well for sticking around. It's been a lovely event. We hope that you've all enjoyed it. And fingers crossed we have another event like this sometime soon. So before we sign off then, Thomas, any final thoughts from yourself?
No, I'm really satisfied with it. We summarized it twice, and yeah, I'm very happy that we did it.
Satisfaction, the RaceRoom racing experience way. He's been Thomas Bennett, I've been James Kirk, and from all of us here, we hope you have a great evening. Take care.